All, welcome to this webinar of all about USMLE and how Logiquest can help. I am, most of you may know me, but for those who don't, my name is Abhishek and I'm the Kaplan's national head. I've been working with Kaplan for over a decade and helping hundreds and thousands of students for, getting their possible, the toughest seat for them. And that's the agenda for today, to give you all the tips and tricks of how Logiquest can help you, what is all about USMLE. Now, we've been doing these kind of webinars and some, seminars in college before also. I assume most of you would know what USMLE basics are. So I will keep my USMLE per se talk a little bit shorter. However, I would like to emphasize more on the other aspects as to, what are the other things which are the add-ons that you need to know in order to strengthen your CV, how to go about things, and, how to get a successful residency. So first thing first, if you can just quickly, tell me what audience am I speaking with? Is it first year, second year, third year? So quickly, can you just type in? I will just have a fair idea, because I believe in one strong thing, that USMLE is one size which does not fit all. So everyone will have a different action plan, and based on which, when I know which students have joined in, accordingly I can go ahead and give you a proper time frame. So can you just type in your comments as to which year are you in right now? Okay, so I can see it's a blend of all. It's a blend of all. I mean, it's not like, just the first year's majority or the second year's majority. It's a blend of all. That's fine. So let's try and understand the, the approach and the time frame for every, single batch, as to how you should be, approaching and attacking your USMLE plans. So first thing first, I assume that, since most of you, almost about 120 plus students are attending the session at this point in time, which means that you're equally interested in USMLE. Few of you may have already joined, some class, some course somewhere. Maybe you need some tips. Some of you are looking forward for, gaining some kind of, inputs as to how do you go about USMLE. And few of you are like keen but don't know as to, what USMLE is all about, and you're just here to, sneak around to see how USMLE exactly is, and, how you can align yourself in terms of the expectations that the US residency, is demanding. So first thing first, for those who have not got the link, I would like to give you the link of, of a free Med Essentials ebook. So this is one ebook that we are offering for free. It's an ebook which you will be getting an access in your Kaplan accounts in the next 24 to 48 hours. Just go to this link in your free time and fill up the form. After you filled up the form, within 24 to 48 hours, you have the Kaplan's Med Essentials ebook in your account. Now, Kaplan's Med Essentials ebook is nothing but, the Kaplan's version of the first aid book, if you've heard of what the first aid is, right? So you can just take a, snapshot of this, and maybe you can just register on this later, right? Now, basically, let's start with, why are we getting into the US? If you're getting into the US, why not India? Or if you're getting into India, or if you're in two minds whether in India or in the US, how do you do the basic comparison? All I can tell you is, just look back, go back to your seniors, go back to your college, and understand the statistics of the last 4 to 5 years, and you will understand as to, how has been the statistics been playing around with the total number of seats which are vacant, which are really, handful when you compare with the total number of competitors who are actually going to contest for those seats. Now, there are going to be freshers who have who are applying for NEET PG this year. There would be some repeaters who could not get last year, and there could be repeaters of last year as well. So in all, you will see it's a big pool of students who are contesting for, the Indian PG seats versus the total number of, seats which are available for the Indian PG are very less in nature. So are we looking forward for, any kind of seat where we're not sure of, or we want to take a chance where at least we have better, chances of if getting into? That is the question. Now again, I would not want you to, make this decision based on whether should you take India or should you opt for US. That's completely your choice, but this presentation today and the statistics that I'll be sharing today will definitely help you, differentiate between the statistics, and then you understand where are good chances for you to, get a residency or a PG seat. Now, what we call PG seat here in India, I mean, we call it as residency in the US, right? There are a few comments coming in that the picture is blurred or something like that. Maybe you can just change your, in the settings, you can just change your video quality and you can just align it accordingly, right? Even if you post questions at the end of the session, I will ensure that every single question is being answered. So I would suggest you to just hold on with your questions right now. As and when we go, we will proceed. And then if you have any questions, you can post towards the end of the session. Right. Now, first thing first, I would like to bring to your notice as to what is the current scenario in the US. If you go to the official website of the AAMC, that's the Association of American Medical Colleges, it clearly mentions on their website that their research shows shortage of more than 1 lakh doctors by 2030. Right. Now, this particular news officially on their website itself says that yes, there is a huge shortage, and they are looking out for doctors, surgeons, physicians, healthcare workers, and that's how they are looking forward for attracting more number of students or doctors into their residency. Now, I would also like to draw your attention to show you that this particular website was published on the 14th of March 2017. Now, you might think this is like an old news, tell me something new. So the latest news on their own same website, when they have updated on the 23rd of April 2019, now the same prediction has increased, and from 1 lakh doctors, now they are predicting a shortage of about 1,22,000 physicians by 2032. In the next 12 years, this is the huge amount of, healthcare workers is what they need. Now, the question is, where would they get in so many doctors from? And the clear answer to it is, it's across the world, including the US. And because the prediction is for the next 12 years, all you guys who are attending the session right now, you have great chances of getting absorbed into these, vacancies that these universities or the hospitals that they have, that they're predicted through the AAMC news now. So definitely you do have great chances. How do you align, and when do you start? How do you start? That's the million-dollar question here, and we're going to discuss as to how do you go about things. Now, today, in a nutshell, what we are going to cover are these points. One is why obtain a medical licensure in the US. Secondly is what is the application process and the timelines. Thirdly, understanding the USMLEs in depth. Next is study plan strategies, tips to increase your odds. I'm also going to talk about strengthening your CV and how Kaplan can help. These are the topics that we're going to cover today. But before which, let me just take you through, some statistics which talks about the average physician compensation in the US. And the reason why I'm starting my session with this is it's not about showing you the greed of money, but it's all about the same 3 years of a MD or a MS program. If you were to invest in India in terms of the time or the tenure versus the same 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the specialty, that the time that you spend in the US are going to be ways apart. Because if you were to, do an MD cardiology in India, at the most you ask yourself, or you go and just ask some of your seniors or some practicing cardiologists, you will find the number wouldn't be that appealing. But the same when I'm comparing that with the US, it is the same 3 years or the 4 years that you're going to spend in the US the same tenure, the output changes. Now the question is, what are you looking at? Do you want to compromise and settle down for something just because your neighbors have taken up an Indian PG or your seniors have taken an Indian PG, or would you actually want to go uh, to the US and make the right kind of a career, ensuring that the same amount of time that you spent, it yields you a greater result. So if I have to convert, now just for the sake of your convenience, I have converted the dollars to rupees, not for all the specialties, but the ones which are really favorite amongst the student community. So the first is pediatrics. An average salary package for a pediatrician in the US starts at nothing less than 1 crore 48 lakhs 40,000 rupees. Now, I'm sure this is definitely not the kind of remuneration that someone in India would likely to be, earning at least in the next few decades for sure. Next is the internal medicine that yields you about nothing less than 1 crore 61 lakhs. That's after the conversion for internal medicine. I'm sure many of you may be opting for, or at least you're interested in getting into surgical fields. A general surgery would, fetch you nothing less than 2 crore 25 lakhs 40,000 rupees. And last but not the least, a plastic surgery would yield you nothing less than 3 crore 50 lakhs 70,000 rupees. Now that's the potential of a physician or a surgeon in the US, right? Now, many a times, like I told you, for last 10 plus years, so I guess 10, 11 odd years, I'm like, delivering these seminars. And whenever I deliver these, seminars, the first thing that, or rather at the end of the session, my entire session is done. And then students would ask, so this is fine, but how much would it cost me to be in the US? And then that really, shook me down. So I thought maybe I can ask this question right in the beginning. Would you want to, just attempt to tell me what, according to you, is the annual tuition fees in the US? Ashna Reja is asking me, is it possible to get pediatrics? Ashna, pediatrics, psychiatry, and internal medicine are the bottom lowest in terms of difficulty level to get a seat, because they are like easiest. When I'm saying easiest, I'm not saying it's a cup of tea, but I would definitely say when you compare with the tough ones, those are the easiest ones to get into, right? And yes, Krishna Suresh, you're absolutely right. For those who still do not know or have some kind of confusion, there is no such concept of annual tuition fees in the US. The residency in the US is 100% free. When I'm saying free, at times people say, are you joking? But yeah, the concept is the federal government of US would absorb the entire cost of your tuition fees, and which is why you do not end up paying anything to the hospital or the university. It's a 100% sponsored seat by the federal government of US, which is why it's a free seat for you. Rather, you also have something which is called as a stipends, and on an average about $55,000 to $60,000 per annum is what any resident in the US would be earning in terms of stipends. On an average, your stay, food, living should cost you or cross not more than $2,000, and some miscellaneous costs like health insurance and other miscellaneous costs about not more than $2,500 to $3,000. So basically, that still keeps you in a very comfortable position, ensuring that you're not burdening or pinching your parents' pockets. So that's the beauty of studying in the US. Vis-a-vis, now I don't need to tell you, I don't need to educate you on how the Indian healthcare system works or the education system in the medical field works, because you have to pay for everything, and it's in lakhs, and if it's a paid seat, it's in crores. I don't have to tell this to you. In turn, what you earn is nothing, and by the time you recover the cost, it's going to take you ages. So, which is why, studying in the US really makes a good decision at some point in time. All right. But today, where we're going to start off with are these four factors. One is what is the USMLE exam, what is the ECFMG, third is what is the ERAS, and finally, what is the NRMP or the National Residency Matching Program. So this is a navigation process that every student will have to follow at one point in time. First thing first is the ECFMG. Now, ECFMG is nothing but an educational commission for foreign medical graduates, and ECFMG is nothing but it's a gateway between the student and the US body, which ensures the verification of a student. Like, there are certain norms that every international medical graduate will have to follow at one point in time. And so first of all, let's say, for example, have you cleared the minimum requirement of completion of basic sciences? That's the end of fifth semester. Is the medical school that you're representing, is that registered in the World Directory of Medical Schools? And some backend verification that ECFMG does with your college. So all these factors, or the verification checkpoints, is what ECFMG ensures. Now, one thing is, I don't want to get into the basics or details of how do you apply for ECFMG, because I am planning to keep another session separately just on the ECFMG. How do you apply for maybe a step 1 or a step 2 CK or a step 2 CS examination? How do you apply, and how do you do the process of application? I will have a separate session on that. But right now, I will just stick to the basic points, which is ECFMG is nothing but it's a mediator between you and the US body, which will filter out the students and give or pass on only the eligible students to the US, right? So that's in a nutshell is what I can say. So whenever you want to appear for the USMLE examination, you just have to go to ecfmg.org, fill out the forms, and once you're done, you get the scheduling permit. You book an exam date into your respective closest Prometric centers, go and give the exam. Step 1, CKCS, follow the same process. Once it is done, one last time you approach the ECFMG for something called as the ECFMG certification. So it just certifies you that you've completed all the 3 steps, which further enables you to send across your applications to the US. That's all about ECFMG that I can talk about. Secondly, next is the ERAS. What is ERAS? ERAS is the Electronic Residency Application Service. It is nothing but an electronic portal through which you send across your applications from your end to the respective university's end. So it being an electronic postmaster, all you got to do is just send across just open an account on the ERAS, and once you log in, after you obtain the tokens, once you log in, you upload all the necessary relevant documents which are listed out on the screen right now. Now, remember, these are just a few that I have mentioned on the screen. Once you've uploaded all your documents, at one shot, when you just say enter or submit, your applications will be shot to the respective universities end in one particular shot. You will not be sending in one single online or a paper-based application, but everything will go at once. And so on an average, in my experience, I've seen Indian students sending applications anywhere between a minimum of 100 to a maximum of 200, even 250 in a few cases. So once you've sent across, once you just click on submit, it will go to the respective university's end. All right. In the meanwhile, I can just see some more questions are popping up, but I would just request you to hold for some more time. I am going to get back to questions in a bit once I'm done with this. So once you've sent across your application, it is received by the respective universities, and that's when the application process would start. Now, remember one thing for ERAS, there is going to be a strict deadline of not beyond 15th of September, where it starts when the ERAS will open up on the 1st of September. So technically, you will see you will have only 15 days to send across your applications to the respective universities, right? Now, after you have sent across your applications, how do programs choose their applicants? Because I'm sure you would agree with me that there are going to be thousands of applicants who are going to apply for the same seat. And, when you're sending across your applications, it is going to be really tiresome, and it is going to be next to impossible for those program directors to choose who's the best and who's not. So what do they do is, the way you have ERAS access, even they will have ERAS access, and they will simply put an electronic filter to the eras and say, all right, fine, just show me students with, let's say, hypothetically, 240 and above in step one, let's say for internal medicine, just hypothetically, all right. Automatically, all those students who do not qualify the scores are flushed out in the very first round. Now they have some cream of cream students left with them. Now, also, the next filter, now they definitely will have seats with them like 2, 5, 10, 15, 20 maybe. And so to get the number from thousands to hundreds and from hundreds to tens, they will definitely have to filter out more students. So the next filter that they apply is, all right, fine, show me students with 240 and above in step 2 CK. Again, those students who do not qualify the CK scores are flushed out in the very first round. Now, having said this, so this is how they will start filtering the students. So which means that your first cut goes to USMLE scores, or in other words, 85% or more weightage is given to your USMLE scores. You can play around with anything, but not with your USMLE scores. Now, let's assume a couple of you have the best possible profile on this planet. You've got some research, some publications, you've got everything, but somehow, unfortunately, you could not qualify the scores. Now, this being my first filter, USMLE scores, I don't even know who has what extra add-ons with him. So for me to unfold those, you got to clear the first hurdle, which is the USMLE score. So which is why try and finish off, and clear the first hurdle, which is the USMLE score. So scores. That's what the mantra here is, right? After I have got a handful of students with me, the next thing that I'm going to do is start looking into the application package of each and every individual student who has cleared the first filter of USMLE score. Now in this, what I will do is the application package, I will see, do you have any US clinical experience? Do you have any letters of recommendation, medical school grades, any achievements, any add-ons, any community service, any research, any publications? I mean, why should I even look at you unless you have some beauty spot on your face? Your face is your USMLE score, and now that I'm seeing at your face, I need to find what's that beauty spot, which will really attract me towards you. So these are certain elements which will strengthen your application package, and it's not just this. However, you will also have to write something called as a statement of purpose. Now, statement of purpose is nothing but an essay that you write about yourself, and you just market yourself as to why do you think you're better than the best, right? Now, this statement of purpose, as I said, is about maximum 2.5 pages of an essay that you write about yourself as to right from your childhood till date, what were your achievements, and how what brought you into medicine, how did you flare into medicine for the last 5 years, what did you go through in those 5 years. Now, if you're looking out for internal medicine, what did you do in internal medicine in those 5 years? Because I mean, they don't want a single candidate who has done nothing and who's applying just for the heck of it and who's just applying aimlessly, who has no head and tail about it. Vis-a-vis, if you write that, yes, I am interested into pediatrics, and I was posted into maybe a neonatal specialty once upon a time, and since then I've handled small kids and babies, and since then I came across a case which was XYZ, and that really was a turning point of my life. And since then I started developing interest into pediatrics. Thereafter, I have done 2 or 3 months of clinical rotations into pediatrics, my research or my projects or anything or anything of that sort into pediatrics. Then I can understand as a program director that you eat, sleep, talk, walks, pediatrics, and pediatrics only. There's nothing more beyond that. So these are the kind of candidates whom I would love to talk to. That does not mean that I've gotten you a seat, but at least that has now got me connected with you on maybe an emotional or ethereal level. So this is the importance of application package. All right. Next, I will now further filter those students who have not done anything great in their life, and I will finally shortlist a few candidates whom I feel that, come what may, I just cannot reject them any further. And that's when I will be going ahead and calling these people for a face-to-face interview, either via telephone call or maybe an email. So what will happen is you will certainly receive, you know, an email, or you'll receive an email or a phone call from my office stating a date and time, and you can come down for a face-to-face interview. Now, remember one thing. I mean, at times I do get, some queries like, what if I get one interview in November and one in January and five in December? So do I need to travel 3-4 times or 5-6 times? The answer is not necessarily you have to travel so many times. So what you could do is you can send an email to all these universities stating that, for example, I'm going to be in the US from 1st of December until the 10th of December, and I also have other interviews to attend. Kindly reschedule my interview anytime between the 1st and the 10th. So all your interviews can be rescheduled by just sending them a simple email. Do not worry about that. They would not mind, because they know that people are going to travel from international destinations, and they also know that you're going to go 10 other places for interviews. So it's no big deal sending an email to them. So keep these things in mind, which will, help you plan your things in a better manner, right? Finally, after asking for some interviews, I will I will ask some certain questions. So, for example, if you want to get into pediatric department, I will ask you some questions like, why do you want to get into pediatrics? Tell me top 5 reasons that I should hire you. Or have you ever worked in pediatric department, or have you worked in an ICU? Have you worked in prenatal or a neonatal, postnatal kind of subspecialties? Tell me some instances that you overcame, that you came across in the ICU. How many patients did you see in the ICU? Or let's say, for example, were there any kind of tough situations that you came ever across? How did you overcome those? What was your role in doing, in overcoming that situation? So these kind of things would really prove that, how passionate are you about things? Have you really done things? Do you really take interest in all these things? Do these things matter to you? So on and so forth. So basis all of this, they will certainly make some perception about you, and then finally they will either, shortlist you, or they may have to let you go. And then basis that, you can take a call. Even I'm sure at the end of the interview, you will also have a particular conclusion about how did your interview go. Was it good? Was it not good? Did it help you? Do you think the program director may have really had a good impression about you, so on and so forth. After which, somewhere in the month of February of next year, you are expected to submit your rankings to a third-party body called as NRMP. Now, we can see on the screen, there's after ERAS, there's one more navigation process that every single individual will have to come across, is the NRMP. NRMP is a National Residency Matching Program, which is a body who's responsible for, ensuring that they get data from both the parties. One is data from you and data from the program directors, and they will do a process. They will run a process which is called as a matching process. So how it works is, you will, let's say for example, you have interviewed yourself at 5 different locations. So you will go ahead and rank those 5 universities based on a few aspects. One is your choice. Like, University of New York is my first choice. University of Cincinnati is my second choice. University of Florida is my third choice. University of Virginia is my fourth choice. University of Rochester is my fifth choice. So you will definitely have certain aspects in mind, and then accordingly you will rank them. But in case if you have a slightest of a doubt in mind that, although University of New York is my first choice, and I mean, that's my dream university, I have to get in there. But if you're convinced that your interview did not go that well, then I would recommend, do not mark that or do not rank that university at number 1, because what's going to happen is the program directors are equally going to rank you in terms of their choice, because when they have interviewed you, you're not the only one. They must have they must have interviewed about 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 more candidates. Now, based on whosoever has been shortlisted, they will be ranking those candidates, that candidate A is my first choice, candidate B is my fifth choice, however candidate C is my second choice. So they will have ranks given to the candidates based on their performance so far. And now that rank is equally submitted by the program directors to this NRMP. Now, NRMP will take data from both, feed that data into the computers, and the computers are algorithmed in such a fashion that automatically the computer will, it's algorithm in such a fashion that computer will assign a particular student against a particular specialty or a university or a hospital, and that process is called as a matching process. And because of this computerized process, it is very important for you to rank the university. Because if the program director, if you think that you screwed up the interview so bad that it is impossible for the program director for you to rank you number one, then why would you want to rank University of New York at number one when you know that it's not going to work? Might as well you can rank them at 5, 6, 7, 10, whatever, but definitely not at. So that gut feeling and the combination of your your preferences, you have to combine those and then rank the universities accordingly. And the outcome, the place that you get matched, is the place that you start your residency. Typically, the results of the match are out on the third Friday of March, either Thursday or Friday, and by 1st of July, that's when your residency would begin in the US hospitals, right? So this is the application process that every single student needs to know. All right. Now, we've seen this. Let's move on to the next thing, that is the timelines. Sometime back, I asked you which year you guys are in, so I will have a better understanding. Now, as I said, that I can see everything. I have all students. I've got first year students, second year, third year final, and intern students as well. So here, your timelines are certainly going to change and differ from student to student. So at this stage, I can see that all of us are in the med school and we are awaiting our medical award, which is the medical degree, that's the MBBS. Once you start preparing for USMLE with Kaplan, on an average, our experience says that it takes about 9 to 12 months for a student to complete his step 1 prep for step 1, right? After which your step 2 CK normally takes not more than 4 to 6 months, and step 2 CS takes just about 1 or 2 months. That is sufficient. And after these 3 examinations are done, you then send across your applications for a process which is called as matching process, which we've just seen, and this is taken care by the NRMP. You also send across your applications for the NRMP match between 1st and the 15th of September. Once you have cleared and once you've got a residency at a particular place, you will then jump into your residency, which is anywhere between 3 years to 6 years, depending on the specialty of your choice. If you go for internal medicine, pediatric psychiatry, even family medicine for that matter, would take you about 3 years each. If you go for OBGYN, radio, neuros, or neurology, I mean to say, anesthesia, it would need you about 4 years for you to complete your residency. General surgery would be 5 years, and neurosurgery would be 6 years, right? So about anywhere between 3 years to 6 years is what you will have to spend in the US. But do not get scared, because I'm sure few of you may have this kind of a thing in your mind. 6 years I will have to study. Oh, it's too much. Might as well I'll finish the same in half the time. That is, in India, 3 years and MS and I'm done. Don't get into that kind of mode, because the moment you get into that mode, you get into a negative mode. Think that this is nothing but an employment for you. You're going to get paid stipends for the next 5 years or 6 years, and you're also going to get exposed to the healthcare system, the world's best healthcare system, which is the US. So when you keep all these things in mind, you will definitely have a positive aspiration to get into the US. Please do not mix the current COVID system, whatever that they are facing. Do not mix this with the healthcare system. Although US has the best healthcare system, it is not that the healthcare system has failed in the US, which is why we are seeing so many COVID cases in the US. However, It's nothing but the foolishness of the administration to not anticipate the grievance of what the situation is coming. They just took it lightly and they are just paying for it. So I don't think the healthcare system has failed or collapsed. It's just that they didn't anticipate it well. But yes, I would say net net, the US healthcare system is definitely one of the best in the world, and I'm sure you would agree. While you're doing your residency in the US, which is anywhere between 3 to 6 years, there is one last exam in the US, sorry, that you will have to clear, which is called as the step 3 exam. Now, this step 3 exam is nothing but a licensing exam by virtue of which you get a license to practice medicine in the US. Earlier, we have seen step 1, step 2 CK, and step 2 CS. These 3 examinations, they will be they will be administered or they would be monitored by a body called as ECFMG. However, the step 3 will not come under ECFMG. There's a separate body called as the FSMB, also known as the Federal State of Medical Board. Now, this Federal State of Medical Board basically is a separate board, because when you apply for a license in the US, you will have to apply to a particular state. Would you want to apply in Connecticut? You want to apply in Florida or Chicago or California, so on and so forth. So it's a state specific and not a national certification that you get, which is why you have to apply for a license to a particular state, which is why it is the FSMB, which deals with your medical licenses state-wise. Right now, step 3, the syllabus is same like step 2 CK. We'll talk about it in depth, but it's a 2 days examination, and this exam is a licensing exam. Remember one thing, you have a choice. Either you can complete your step 1, step 2 CK, step 2 CS, and the step 3 first in India, and then go to the US and do your or take your step 3 exam parallelly, or you finish your 1 CK CS step 3 in India, and then you go to the US. In both the ways it would work. It's just that when you take a step 3 first, it will strengthen your application. So that's just a feather in your cap, and also you become eligible to apply for the US hospitals on H-1B work permit visa. That's the add-on or a plus point of taking a step 3 before. But people who really don't bother about these aspects, and eventually if you think you want to come back to India, then maybe you can just take a step 1, step 2 CK, step 2 CS, go to the US, start your residency, parallelly take a step 3, get yourself board certified, and then either and then of course you come back to India. So those are the differences between taking it first and later, right? We've discussed this, but I will again want to emphasize more on you guys taking a picture or a snapshot of this, which talks about the important dates, match dates to remember. So June is when you will apply for residency tokens or download the ERAS guide. July is when you apply for the tokens. Tokens is nothing but, okay, fine, this year I am going to apply for residency and I'm going to obtain a token for that, right? Prepare all your supporting documents, letters of recommendation, etc. by August. September first half is when you submit your application. October to January is your interview season. February is when you submit your rank order list to the NRMP, and finally mid-March is when your results will be out and residency begins on the 1st of July. So we've discussed this, but it's just in a form of a calendar. If you want, you can just take a snapshot of this. 2020 match rate by applicant. Now, again, if you've gone to the NRMP official website, which is the nrmp.org, you will find that when 2020, when the results were out on, I guess, 21st or 22nd of March last month, when the results were out this year, in the history of NRMP, the non-US IMGs, which obviously includes the Indian students as well, have created a record, right? 61.1% has been the success ratio for the non-US IMG candidates, which means out of 2, at least 1 student is getting placed in the US for sure. That's the success ratio of non-US IMGs. Vis-a-vis, if you were to apply in India, out of every 10 candidates, 1 student is getting selected for your PG program here. So that's the difference, guys. This is very important for you to know and understand, right? Now, the historical match rate. Now, you can see for yourself how the success ratio has changed in the last 10 years, how it has improved. That is one important aspect for you to know and understand. So, 10 years back, it was very minimal. People were hesitant, and that's when the success ratio then was about 39.8%, which has now grown up to 61.1%. Also, one important thing that you can see over here, that the difference between US IMGs and non-US IMGs was there was a huge gap, because for non-US IMGs it was barely 39.8%, but US IMGs who are citizens or green card holders but studying outside the US, for them the success ratio was 47.3%, and there was a huge gap of almost close to 8.5 to 9%. But today the non-US IMGs have superseded the US IMGs, so that is one good news for all the non-US IMGs. You can definitely look into it as from a positive aspect. Again, average scores by specialty. These are some specialties. These are some average scores for step 1 and step 2 CK. I would want all of you to take a picture of this and keep things handy. So even especially for the first years and second years, if you have not decided anything as to which specialty you want to get into, at least this snapshot would help you after a year or two when you've decided what should be your average target score. Although there could be some specialties like psychiatry talking about 219 and 230, but don't get fooled by these scores, guys. These are average scores, right? These are average scores. So at any given point in time, I would like to put my foot down and say, hey, minimum 240 in step 1 and 240 in step 2 CK. That's the bare minimum that I would expect from my student at any given point in time. When I'm saying 240, of course you should not be just waiting at a 240. If you are capable of a 250, 255, please go ahead and look out for getting a better score. This simply talks about the higher your step 1 score, higher are your chances of matching. Now, we've been talking to students for quite some time as to how do you get a better residency or a better chance. Is out of all the steps, step 1 is the most important score, because it has proven itself, and it's a proven fact where it says if you have more than 250, you have more than 85% chances of getting matched. Remember a couple of things. One is USMLE step 1 is one of the toughest exams as compared to CK or step 3. Secondly, step 1 papers are set by PhD doctors, however step 2 CK papers are set by the MD doctors. So step 1 score itself is it's competitive score, it is complex, and it is tough. So if you can crack a step 1 with a outstanding score like a 250 plus or a 260 plus, that itself proves, and even the program director knows that yes, he's one of the best candidates. When he can crack this kind of an exam, I guess he's already won the battle to a larger extent. Now, this is again considering your existing pattern where step 1 is a 3-digit score. Now, as I'm sure most of you or every one of you may have heard that step 1 is changing to a pass-fail pattern with effect from January of 2022. I repeat, it's January of 2022. Again, it is proposed to be changed. It is not, they have nowhere mentioned that we are going to change. It is proposed to be changed, and all of us, including you and me, are just waiting for any updates that are going to come into existence with effect from the January of 2022. So what is changing is step 1 is going to move to a pass or a fail. So today I'm getting a 194 or a 200, 250, 260 kind of a score. From January 22, no matter I'm a 250 student or a 194, I am still going to be a pass or a fail depending on what my score is. Secondly, the exam attempts are going to reduce from 6 to just 4. That's the max that you can take. And lastly, you cannot take the step 2 CS exam without passing the step 1. So these are a few proposed changes which they have made. And now let's see how it will affect especially the IMGs, because as I said, if 194 is also a pass and 250 is also a pass, how are they supposed to do justice? Now, how they are supposed to do, even again, as I said, they are yet to disclose this fact. But as an IMG, after 2022, if you were to be ready for the combat, how and which areas should you be taking care of? So number one is, after this change, other factors will likely increase in importance for students, increasing their competitiveness in the match. So one is step 2 CK score. Now that step 1 is going to be pass or fail. So let's say, assume that you've passed. But what is the extra add-on that you're going to show in your entire profile? So next is focus on your CK score. That's the next Masiha who's going to come and save you. That just being one of the factors, which is why sometime back I said you have a choice whether to take a step 3 first, or you go to the US and take a step 3. Now, after you go to the US and take the step 3, it's going to be just a formality, my friends. No one is going to even check whether you've got a 196 of a minimum passing or you've got a 200 plus, 250 plus. No one is going to check on that. But if you have passed a step 3 before you apply, it is certainly going to going to make a lot of change, because step 3 adds value to your profile. So if you have time, please do consider step 3 on your profile. Also, the number of attempts. Have you failed and then passed your step 1, or a step 2 CK for that matter, or is it in the first attempt? That is really going to matter. Next is the academic performance in the medical school. What have been your average grades across from your first year to final year? That is equally one of the factors that they would start looking into. US clinical experience. How many have you done? Which specialty have you done? Are you applying to the same specialty for which you have done your rotations in, or you've done rotations in pediatrics and applying for medicine? So all these things, letters of recommendation, everything will be considered. Year of medical school graduation. Year of medical school graduation, are you like 2 years, 3 years old graduate, or you're like 5, 6, 7 years old graduate? That would really matter. Up to 2, in a few cases, up to 3 years should not hamper your profile to that an extent. But again, we should not be considering that as the first benchmark. I would suggest just try and apply to the US universities as early as you can. So that would in turn give you a better chance of getting into the US hospitals of your choice. Dr. Manasa, step 1, 250, step 2 CK 257, Dr. Mani, step 2 CK 252, Dr. Anita, step 2 CK 252, Dr. Manik, step 1 260. So these are certain best scores that people have just got, or rather the average scores that people do get using the Kaplan resources. Last segment is understanding the USMLE examination. As you know that we are going to discuss 4 exams, which are step 1, CK, CS, and the step 3. Let's try and begin with the first step, which is the step 1 basic exam. It's all about understanding the basic sciences, which is your first year 7 subjects, which is your anat, physio, biochem, patho, micro, pharmac, behavioral science. As discussed, you can take this exam anytime after the second year of medical school, where the high yield subjects are patho, pharmac, physio. Your MCQ, it's an MCQ based pattern with 280 questions, 7 blocks of 40 questions each. So there are going to be 7 blocks, 40 questions in each. 7 4s are 28, 280 questions is what your step 1 would demand. Till the time your one block would be for 1 hour. So you can skip questions within that block before the end of 60 minutes. You can do all of that. But once you've moved, you cannot come back to the previous block. So that's the beauty of your basic sciences step 1. It's a 7-hour long exam plus 1 hour break. That's an 8-hour long exam. So now this is going to be a challenge number 1. Now, so far I told you there's 0 fees. You get a lot of good stipends, a good lifestyle, and good exposure to medical studies, etc. That's fine. But of course, there has to be 2 sides of the coin. So if one side says some good things, other side also says that, boss, if you have to go there, you will have to work towards it. Now, this is going to be a challenge number 1. It's a 7-hour long exam. So far, we are used to a 3-hour, 3.5-hour pattern, not beyond that, which is why it is very important for you to practice yourself, train your mind and body, tune in to be at one place, focus for 7 long hours at one place. And it's not just sitting at one place, but focusing and ensuring that you are getting the best score till with the same mileage till the last minute. So that is one important point, and it's a biggest hurdle for your step one. So this is very important. Start preparing for this. Out of 280, 194 is the minimum passing. Again, even if it changes to pass or fail, your cutoff would still remain the same, which is going to be 194. Today you're getting it in a score format. Later you'll get in a pass or fail format. Exam fee, if you're taking it from India, it is going to be $1,125. So again, financially also it should be viable. It's not a small amount for you to just keep on taking chances, and even keeping on taking chances is not a good sign. So your first attempt has to be the best attempt. If you fail, you can reattempt, but if you pass, you cannot take it for the next 7 years. This is again as of today, but once it changes to pass fail, this possibly may or may not come into existence. Average time per question is about 85 to 90 seconds, and it's more of a clinical vignette format. Now, all of us in our current college pattern, we are taking subjective questions like, write a short note on some topics, write merits and demerits of ABC. So when you are, so much used to those subjective type of questions, here you have average of about 85 to 90 seconds per question. Every question is a huge lengthy clinical vignette format session or a question, and then also sitting for 7-8 long hours and then focusing. All of these factors put together is really not easy. I don't want to demotivate you, but I'm just making you alert that yes, you should not be taking your step one exam lightly. That's the point here, right? Next exam is a step 2 CK exam. Again, there's nothing much to discuss in this because this is just a replica in terms of pattern when you compare that with the step 1, because step 1 has 7 subjects. This will have 5 subjects, which are internal medicine, pediatrics, psychiatry, OBGYN, and surgery. The high yield subjects are internal medicine, which is 60% or more. So even if you focus on internal medicine, it still plays the trick for you. It's an MCQ based pattern with 318 questions. Instead of a 7-hour long exam, it's a 8-hour long exam plus 1 hour break. It's a 9-hour long exam. So again, this time the intensity is increased slightly. Instead of 194 minimum passing, this time it is 209. Exam fee instead of 1125 is 1145. That's all about the step 2 CK. The best part is step 2, or rather all USMLE exams, step 1, CK, CS, and step 3 are administered 365 days a year minus your Sundays and national holidays. So every day there is an exam, right? So that's the best part. So you can just give the exam whenever you're prepared, not like the NEET PG where you have to wait for 1 full year to appear for the exam before you could do so, right? Next exam is the step 2 CS exam. Step 2 CS exam is nothing but a practical exam in which you have to go to the US and give your exam in a different environment altogether, where they're going to be patients. But these patients are not live patients or real patients, but they're professionally trained theater actors. So you will be assigned 12 simulated standardized patients. And if you can see the first image, the student, that is you're waiting for your turn. And when there's going to be a gong or an alarm or an announcement, you simply open the small door and the case details or the patient details are mentioned over here. Now, on the exam day, as I said, you will be given 12 standardized patients. The outcome of this exam is either pass or fail. You either pass this exam or you fail this exam, right? For every patient, you will be assigned 15 minutes for patient encounter. So once you've knocked in, you said, hello, knock, knock. My name is Dr. Jonathan, and then you just go in and wish him good morning, good afternoon, whatever, and then introduce yourself and sit in front of the patient. That's when the scenario changes to image number 2 on your screen. So now there's going to be a 15 minutes of patient encounter which is going to happen. You will be asking all right relevant questions, a diagnosis, patient history, all of that will happen, and for which you will be assigned 15 minutes. And once you say, okay, fine, thank you so much, tata, bye-bye, you come outside. There's going to be a computer which is kept outside. You are expected to enter patient notes and start typing in within strict 10 minutes because there's going to be a timer. While you're entering patient notes here, let me tell you, these standardized patients are the ones who are going to assess you on your performance. So they're professionally trained theater actors to tell it. So they will know whether you've done the right thing, have you asked the right questions, Was the diagnosis proper? Was there a good communication, no, and a, attachment between the patient and the doctor? All these things are assessed during these 15 minutes. While you're typing in patient notes for these 10 minutes, within the same 10 minutes, these patients are also evaluating you through a checklist that they have. Did the patient wish good morning and introduce himself? Sorry, did the doctor do so? Did the doctor, wash his hands before touching the patient? Did the doctor take permission? Did the doctor ask right relevant questions? Did the doctor da 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 A B C D E? They will have a checklist, and yes no yes no yes no, based on which your your entire 15 minutes are being assessed. So your assessment basically will be based on these three parameters. One is the integrated clinical encounter, right relevant diagnosis, question asking, etc. Next is the CIS, or the communication and interpersonal skills, and third is the SEP, or the spoken English proficiency. Normally across the globe, ICE and SEP is not a problem, because that's something that the students are prepared with. One thing that the students are not prepared with, and they face the biggest problem, is the CIS, or the communication and interpersonal skills. There are going to be certain episodes that will come to you unexpectedly, and you don't know what to do. You don't know how to react. You don't know what to say. And even if you're saying something, are you using the right words? That's very important. Are you empathizing the patient? Are you sympathizing the patient? They are very important. Although it is said that Step 2 CS is the world's easiest exam as compared to 1 CK and Step 3, but it also holds a record of highest failure rate, and that credit goes to the CIS, nothing else. The reason being, what we do here with the patients, how we behave or how we interact with the patients on a daily basis, is very common phenomena for all of us. It's quite natural, because that's how we all are raised in this part of the world. But when you go to the western part of the world, this regular activity of yours may be offensive for them, which is why it is very important for you to know exactly as to how do you build that rapport with the patient and excel in the communication and interpersonal skills. Do not get confused in communication and interpersonal skills with the spoken English proficiency, because those are like two opposite things. Spoken English proficiency has its own separate criteria. So that's not about English proficiency, but it's all about the rapport building, which is why we recommend that before you do your Step 2 CS, please have at least 2 months or at least 3 months of clinical rotations done in the US. So once you are in that environment for the last 60 to 90 days, then it's easier for you to replicate that same into the Step 2 CS exam. Then we can ensure that we do not fail this exam. The doctors must have to pass all sections, and the exam can be given only in these 5 locations, which is Atlanta, Philadelphia, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Houston. The exam fee is $1,600 US. So again, let's be prepared, because this itself is going to take about 1,10,000, 1,15,000 odd thousand rupees. So very important. Last exam is the patient management exam. That's the Step 3 exam. Again, we will not go much into detail, but just to give you a glimpse, it's a 2 days exam having criteria like multiple choice questions and CCS, which is computer case simulations. In Step 2 CS, just now we have just seen that Step 2 CS is face to face. In a Step 3, a C is added, which stands for computer, so computer case simulation. So you'll be given a computer simulator, and then you'll be given 13 cases, and based on how do you perform and how many patients you kill and how many patients you save, the outcome would come accordingly. So on day 1, you'll be attempting 233 MCQ based questions, and again on day 2, you go to the same exam hall and attempt 180 MCQ based questions with 13 computer case simulations. 196 is the minimum passing, and $830 is your exam fee. Remember one thing, there's a good news about Step 3. They do not look at competitive scores. So even if you pass at a 196, consider yourself to be lucky, because at the end of it, what you gain out of it is just a license to practice medicine anywhere, either in the US or back in India. That's completely your choice, right? So having said that, let's move on and get to the core of the topic as to additional steps to strengthen your match application. Obtaining US clinical experience is very important, as I said, and especially after Jan 22, this will be given a higher importance because step one is just a pass or fail. So what do you gain? You get exposure to the patients and acquiring skills required for patient care and work in the hospital, as I said, which helps you in your step to CS as well. You also get the letters of recommendation from the US universities or hospitals on their letterheads signed by the senior director or senior doctor in the in the hospital. It also helps you improve your communication and interpersonal skills. That's the SIS which we have seen in the Step to CS exam. It helps you in networking and connections in your specialty. It proves your interest and commitment towards certain specialty. So as I said, if you're into an interview and you're talking that, yes, I'm so much passionate about pediatrics that, I ended up doing about at least 3 rotations in pediatrics. So that actually shows your commitment towards that particular specialty. Learning about clinical practice, how do you maintain electronic records, hospital administration, life cycle of a hospital, life cycle of a patient, etc. And of course, the relevant rules and regulations of the US, all of this that you learn during your clinical rotations, which is why it is very important for you to do it. Volunteer opportunities. Again, this is one of the aspects which will help you to, add to your CV. I would recommend if you can just take a picture of or a snapshot of this particular page. There are about 3 links that I have mentioned, and I would like to help you with, where you can find yourself some volunteer opportunities in case if you're looking forward for, especially if you're in the US during your clinical rotations, or if you're staying in the US for doing a Kaplan course, or for some other reason, if you're there and you want to do some volunteer opportunities, these links would certainly help you a lot, right? Research. Again, I would not want to, take much of a time on this, but again, if you want to look out for some more opportunities in doing some research, this link on your screen would certainly help you with. So just go through it and visit this link. Do not forget to visit this link and solicit some opportunities for you for doing some kind of a research, because in turn this research will also help you in strengthening your CV. One of the important aspects. Choose your programs wisely when you're applying. Very important, because where do you apply is very important. You may have attended similar kind of webinars in the past as well, but how do you apply and where do you apply is equally important over here, right? Now, I would say first thing is weigh your competitiveness. If you have a 230 score on your step 1 and a similar kind of a score on your step 2 CK, and if you're planning to aim for a surgical branch just because you have a passion for that, would that be viable? Ask a question to yourself. So what are the board scores or the number of attempts that you have while you got, even if you have a 250 or a 255 for that matter, have you got those after 3 or 4 attempts? Now those 3 or 4 attempts is equally going to kill the weightage of that 255. Remember that. So so weigh the competitiveness of your profile first. Do you have clinical experience? And of course, US is preferred, or I mean, no one says in writing somewhere that your Indian clinical experience is not considered. Everyone knows and is very much convinced that yes, you definitely have a great clinical experience. But my dear friend, everything is in the US. When you come to the everything is in India, but when you come to the US, the cultural difference itself will kill half of the time. And are you prepared for handling the US patients? That really matters, which is why doing clinical rotations in the US really helps. Because let's say I'm a program director and I will see that you've done 4 months of clinical rotations in the US, then I know that you're well acquainted with the US healthcare system and all the policies and the procedures followed by the US hospitals. So I know that the time, energy, and money spent on you for these kind of rotations is going to be less. So you'll be my first choice, right? Years of graduation, I mean, how old a graduate are you? Letters of recommendation, how many letters of recommendation? Do you have any extra languages that you speak, like a Spanish or a French, which is an added advantage in the US? All these things would really be helpful. Weigh the competitiveness of the desired specialty as well. Evaluate the relative competitiveness of the geographic location. So all these things would certainly help you. Widen your list to include some community-based programs, not just university-based programs. Many a times, I want to go only in Mayo Clinic, I want to go only in John Hopkins, I want to go only in Stanford or Harvard Medical School. Now remember one thing: if your profile does not demand the matching with the requirements of the universities, then I would rather recommend, let's be open for some community-based programs as well. Okay, so that is equally important. So do these clinical experiences, and at the time of application, definitely ask us. We can certainly help you, because Logiquest certainly does help students in placements for your clinical rotations as well. If you need some help for clinical rotations, feel free to approach us. We have tie-ups in all corners of US. We'll be more than happy to place you in a number of the specialties of your choice. When you're applying to competitive specialties, be sure to have a backup plan, because if you're just trying for A tier or B tier hospitals or universities, and if you do not get there for some reason, what's your backup plan? Please do have a plan B as well. Now again, this is just a US map which talks about where most of the IMGs are placed, and as I can see, these red dots that you can see, these are all IMGs. So one red dot represents 5 international medical graduates. As a result, I would just say try and focus on the East Coast, and if you have that Spanish or French on your CV, then maybe you can look at Florida, Miami, or even California for that matter. Otherwise, Chicago, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, these areas are 100% English-speaking population with hundreds and thousands of opportunities for international medical graduates, which is why it is densely populated with IMGs, right? Bonus tips, again, I would not take much of time, but you can equally take a snapshot of this. Do try Coursera, which is a medical certification course, which will help you to improve your CV. And of course, do visit the rpusa.org website, which is the Physicians of India, Indian origin, American Association of Physicians of Indian origin. So do visit this for registering yourself, and I'm sure it is not going to cost you anything. Where do I begin? Very good question. Start with a diagnostic test, because diagnostic test is going to help you understand and clarify your entire situation, because we at Kaplan definitely do offer you various resources for doing your step 1 or a CK or a CS or even step 3 for that matter. All the resources are available with Kaplan. But how should one start or begin is a diagnostic test, because diagnostic test is nothing but it will give you the glimpse of the entire USMLE as a whole, and it will also help you assess your strengths and your weaknesses. It will also tell you what's your current score, so it will give you that before and after effect. So taking a diagnostic is very important for you to decide a baseline score. In any case, no matter you do a Kaplan, you do a diagnostic, you do a self-prep, whatever that you do not forget to do questions, and questions. Eventually, what I want and expect from my students is increase the total number of questions, because that is one important area. I have seen hundreds of students just studying, day in, day out, just studying. Now, my question to those students again remain the same. Now, let's say you're studying limb and you know everything about limb. You just go to page 256, right from top to bottom, you mug up everything and you tell me. But is that going to help you? If I ask you certain questions, you're going to go bonkers. Because USMLE questions are those tricky nerds which will take you anywhere. Which is why doing more number of questions really helps you. So do as many questions as you can. So widen the exposure. But then you know that how this limb is being implemented in various patients or various questions. That is more important for you. Again, questions from different resources. Do books, do questions, do videos, do questions. Take quizzes, take assessments, do questions, take the live lectures, live online lectures, do questions, solve the UWorld, solve the NBME, take questions, solve the first aid, take questions. Questions is your thumb rule. Last year we had in Kaplan US, we had a topper with the 274. When we asked him what's your success recipe by getting a 274, he just said, so before taking the real USMLE exam, I ended up solving 6,000 USMLE questions. So I hope you understand the importance of questions there. Maybe I will not, spend more time here, but you can just take a glimpse of which specialty, what are the average US median scores, how many years do you spend in residency, after your completion of residency, how many hours per week do you work in the US as a physician or a surgeon, and what's the average start salary into that specialty. That's what this chart talks about. Parallelly, this chart also talks about which specialty, how many positions are offered, what are the total number of applicants who apply typically in that specialty, and what is the percentage of non-US IMGs in that specialty. So this is again the percentage which is given for the non-US IMGs as well. Lastly, again, how we are going to help the students, or why Kaplan resources are very important and useful for the students in preparation of the same. First is Kaplan definitely has the world's greatest faculty. We have a total faculty pool of 120 plus faculties who are always working on the live lectures, the live online lectures, the content development. If you see, you will also get updated material. Many a times people say, sir, I've got pirated material or the videos given by my seniors. Let me tell you, those are way old videos that you may have in your laptops. I can also prove it to you. If you just check compare the 2017 and 2018 textbooks, there's one entire chapter missing in the 2017 textbook, which is now there in the 2018. This is an old example. Right now, we are out with the 2020 textbook, so you can definitely imagine year on year, there is some updation. And if you keep on, holding those old, outdated material, then I don't think anyone can come and help you in that aspect. All the faculty members currently are teaching in some of the other universities, and the same faculty members are also teaching with Kaplan. So you are not deprived of these world-class faculties. You're also getting the same international faculties come in and teach you for your USMLE prep. So there are two types of preparation. One is sit at home and study. Other is in person when you go to the US. Now, I understand there's a COVID situation out there. Going to the US at this stage may not be possible, but at a later stage, especially the first years and second years, or even the final year students next year, if you want to go to the US to study, please do approach us in the near future. But at this point in time, the best option that you have is sit at the comfort of home, because even the government says sit at home and be safe. So sit at home and start studying. These are the resources that you will be getting along with the Kaplan course. One is the lecture notes, that is the 2020 textbooks. One is the on-demand videos. You also get the diagnostic tests, assessment tests, subject-wise tests, full-length exam, and a question bank with 2,000 plus exam-like questions. So all these resources are certainly given to you. So these are the 2020 books. As you can see, the step 1 lecture notes 2020, step 2 CK 2020, and of course the step 3 2020 lecture notes. All updated material is what you get along with the Kaplan material or the coaching, right? Now, many a times you may have heard about the Kaplan portal, but you may have not known the importance of this. So when a student logs into a Kaplan's portal, on the left hand side, if you can see, this is how he will have access. He will have QBank, and he will also have subject wise. So let's say I'm clicking on anatomy. Under anatomy, I will have these 4 subtopics, which is embryology, histology, gross anatomy, neuroscience, clinical correlates, animations, etc. And then there's going to be warm-up questions before you start, so you know how much you know about maybe metabolism. And there are going to be videos, and there are going to be questions after every video. So before you move on, it's at this stage itself, are you prepared for going ahead? Because let's say out of 10 you've scored 2, which means it's time for you to retake that video or read through those books again, and just ensure that you've now known everything before you can move on. So this is how my entire on-demand portal would help you with. You can also start with the lecture. So this is a faculty you can see on the screen with his details. He's again from Rutgers Robert Wood Johnson Medical School. He's a professor of neuroscience and cell biology who's teaching anatomy with us as well, right? So Dr. David. again a PhD holder. So all our faculty members are PhD holders. So you can now understand the relevance between the PhD holders and the getting a good score in step one, because they are equally set by the PhD holders. So that interlink is always going to help you in cracking a good score for step one. Even when you're cracking or you're practicing your question bank, this is how the question bank with Kaplan can be customized. On the left hand side, you can see you can check or uncheck a particular box, and you can have a tailor-made quiz for yourself. So here you can see I have selected cardiovascular, general principles, nervous system, and respiratory system. 4 organs is what I have selected here. Everything is in this particular discipline. And what type of questions do you want? You want the fresh questions, you want the previously attempted questions, you want the incorrect ones of the previous quizzes that you've taken, or the attempted ones. So all of these is what you can just customize it as per your requirement. You can also select whether you want easy questions, medium questions, difficult questions, hard questions. This is how the question bank is customized. So you can just imagine, this is how it helps students to make a choice before they could practice onto a particular topic. After you've taken a test, you can simply go here and see your overall performance, how many questions you've taken, how many were correct, how many were incorrect, into a graphical mode and a numeric mode as well. But this is a dummy account, so right now you can see everything is 0 over here. You just scroll down and you will see, for example, cardiovascular, what was the percentage that you got, how many questions that you solved, how many were correct, how many were incorrect. And again, a pie graph that you can see in terms of easy, medium, difficult, questions, incorrect, right, so on and so forth. So this is a beautifully designed tool that we have. In fact, we also have another tool which is called as the integrated Q bank, but I would not get into the details of it right now. But as far as you understand the gist and the crux of it, I guess that's sufficient. Apart from this, you will also be having live online lectures. Now, these batches would start every month. These batches, so evening 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., you will have these 4 hours of live interactive lectures. Not necessarily every day, because there are a total of 270 hours of live lectures. Those are spread over a period of 14 weeks. So you have like 3-4 days of class, 3-4 days of break, again 4-5 days of class, 2 to 3 days of break. So in those breaks you can revise whatever that you've done. We strongly recommend that these live lectures should be done towards the end, and start with the books first, start with the question bank first, start with the recorded lectures first, do the assessment test, and once you've done enough of this, then you go ahead and start with your live lectures. Those are live, interactive. You can ask him questions, doubts, and in that live setting you will have a different experience altogether. Once you've done with that, then it is time for you to switch over and solve some UWorld, and then do some NBME tests, and finally once these things are done, you will be taking the exam in conjunction with my medical advisor. So every single student will be assigned with a one-on-one medical advisor. These medical advisors are, most of them are doctors. They've taken their USMLEs. They're quite experienced to tell you how you're supposed to have an approach, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, how do you assess, when should you study, how should you study, what should be the action plan, how do you improvise on your scores. All these things these medical advisors would do. If you were to be in the US, it will happen face to face across the table, as you can see on the screen. However, you being in India here, it will happen through a WhatsApp call or a Skype call or a Google Hangout call, and these medical advisors would give you all the necessary inputs just to pump in the scores that you're looking at. So this is a proven one of the best resources that we have ever had so far, right? So that is about the medical advisor. Now, one best part about the entire live online product or the course that Kaplan has to offer is, let's say, like most of you, like I can see, are first year students, right? And if they want to appear sometime in the 3rd year, now they might say, I've got 2 years. What do? I want to start, but I'm not too sure what should I do. So in that case, from the date of enrollment till the time you start with your live lectures, every single student will have unlimited access to these resources which we've spoken about, which is the textbooks, the recorded lectures, question bank, assessment tests, etc. So for example, if someone wants to start in the 3rd year also, you can just have 1 year or 2 years of the on-demand access. So they have ample time to go through it, preview the entire course, and then take the live lectures in the live setting, sitting at home on the laptop, and then go and give the real USMLE exam. So any period or every period before the live lecture starts is a bonus or a complimentary period from our side. You don't have to worry about the eligibility or the validity. I would say validity would be the right word. Don't have to worry about the validity. There is ample validity. You can make use of all the resources that Kaplan has to offer, right? Typically on the match day, this is how we have to enjoy across all our branches across the world, where people say I matched, and that's how people they just have a gala time or a party time. Lastly, someone who wants to do take a diagnostic test for free, this is the link. Please make a note of it, and just register here. Within 24 to 48 hours, you will have a link to take a free diagnostic test sitting at your home. Take a test, see, and if you want to discuss your scores with me, you want to discuss a strategy with me as to how do you approach and how do you move on next, please feel free to contact me. I will share my contact details after the end of the session. Shoot me an email or WhatsApp it to me. That's the best way to reach me, and I will be more than happy to discuss your scores and the evaluation of your performance in your diagnostic test. Again, you must have heard of Quora. I have answered more than 350 questions, and the number is still going on and on. If you want to know more about, any questions on the USMLEs or residency or any other thing, please feel free to drop in a question on Quora. I'll be more than happy to guide you and assist you on Quora as well. These are certain social medias that we are on. Please feel free to follow us on few of them, all of them, and we'll be more than happy. And whenever we have any updates, you will be the first ones to know and get updated on this. Finally, please do not forget to take a snapshot of this. Keep all our contact details handy. You also know where all we are present across the country. You can walk into our nearest branch. Not now. Please hold on. Not now. Government says, I say, everyone says, stay at home, stay safe. But as of now, please take the contact details, keep those handy, click a picture, take a snapshot, screenshot, and we'll be more than happy to assist you once the lockdown is over, once things would be back to normal. With that, I guess we should move back to questions. There are a lot many students who are waiting for questions, and now it's time for Q&A. So let me just see if there are any questions which are waiting for some time. While I'm just going through the questions, all of you are on YouTube. Please click on the like button, subscribe button, click on the bell icon. And next time, as I told you, we'll be having more frequent webinars on ECFMG specific, US clinical experience specific. So the moment we go live, you will immediately know that we are live. You can always attend those. Yeah, so I guess I have answered this question, Ashna Reja. Is it possible to get pediatrics? Yes, it is certainly possible, and pediatrics falls in the lowest 3. So technically, it is not that competitive as compared to maybe OBGYN or even surgical branches for that matter. Is it possible to get ophthalmology? Yes, Kiran, it is a very good question. I wouldn't say a yes or a no, but I can certainly say opthal, ENT, and dermat are super tough to get into. After distributing their seats to the local American candidates, the total number of seats left to give it to the IMGs are a single digit figure, which is like 4, 5, 6, 7 maybe in that case. So I really wouldn't want to give you false hopes that yes, ophthalmology is easy, ho jayega. I mean, it's either a 1 or a 0. I don't want to give any false hopes. So ophthal is really tough to get into. Could you tell us the chances of matching into the surgical residency? Yes. Now, against what Kiran had asked about ophthalmology, I can still give you some hopes regarding the surgical residency. When I'm saying I'm giving you hopes, I am not intending to give you any kind of false hopes that yes, it is easy, go for it. It is not as easy as maybe an internal medicine or a pediatrics or a psychiatry. It is tough, but it is not impossible. You need a very, very, very strong profile to get into a surgical branch. You need to have a good CV, work on your CV right from now. Start taking active participation, the smallest of the things. I shared a couple of links about research and voluntary opportunities. Additionally, I can also suggest, you can join some, what should I say, some clubs like Rotary Club, Rotary Club, Lions Club, or try and join some NGOs. These community services would really help you to strengthen your CV at this point in time. You must be having some inter-college fest, not the other one, but the academic one, right? Not the musical nights and stuff like that, but the academic ones. When you have UG conferences and all, try to take active participation in those. Also try and ensure that you are into some organizing committee, so that your leadership qualities are displayed over there. So that is very important, and these letters later would really help you. Even a smallest certificate like volunteer in a blood donation camp also adds to your profile. Maybe you can have some kind of other voluntary activities, WHO, CRY Foundation, so those kind of NGOs. I mean, it should not be a branded ones compulsorily. If it is, that's great. But even if you don't, soliciting an opportunity is very important at this point in time. So can you tell us about the finances until you get a residency in the US? That's what Govind has to ask. Let me tell you, Govind, totally if I have to anticipate and consider everything, including the clinical rotations, even if I have to consider your Kaplan coaching, even if I have to consider your flight cost, visa cost, stay cost, food cost, exam fees, everything put together should be roughly around 20 odd lakhs. Okay, so that's the average cost which will be incurred in terms of capital investment before you start into your residency, right? Can you explain regarding surgery residency for a non-US citizen? We just spoke about the surgical branch. Unless you have a specific question, you may feel free to retype in. But see, the process would remain the same. It's just those add-ons that we will have to take care of in order to get a better seat into some surgical branches of your choice. What are the possibilities to obtain a surgical residency in the US? Sanjana, please feel free. In this slide on your screen, there's a number and an email ID given. Please feel free to write an email, and if you want, I can send in your application for a US clinical experience in surgery today itself for a future date after the COVID things are normalized. I can do that. I can get you a surgical US clinical experience for you. Should not be a problem. What are the chances of getting dermat? We've just discussed ENT, ophthal, and dermat. Three are like super tough to get into. So, I mean, do you really want to waste your time, or you want to have a backup plan like a plan B? You will have to think about it. I don't want to pose it on you, but dermat is really, really, really difficult to get into the US. I would like to be blunt, the other being, having some sugar-coated words. If I do residency in the US, will I get MD degree or not? Residency in the US equals MD degree in India. So it's the same, just that you will not have the abbreviations like MD, which is Masters of Doctor or something like that, but it will be called as a board certified doctor. You do not have a abbreviation when you do a residency from US. It's not an abbreviation. You are called as a board certified doctor, and globally, board certified doctor equals an MD across the globe. So that's equally the same. What are the chances of getting surgery? Rutvik, we've just spoken about this, and I guess there are some, repeated questions, but that's absolutely fine. Every question is a valuable question. What are the chances? We've spoken. Yes. Chances are skim, but it is not impossible. That's all I can say. What about dermat, ortho, surgery, and gynec? Again, we're speaking the same thing in a different language. Dermat, yes, super tough. Ortho, semi-tough. Surgery, semi-tough. Gynec, semi-tough. Is there any other cost like applying for exam, etc.? So we spoke about a total investment of 20 lakh rupees. All the costs are included in those 20 lakh rupees. May I know when can I take the step 1 exam? So the earliest that any student can take a step 1 exam would be in the 3rd year, nothing before that. And the latest that, again, there's no age limit as such, but again, to be very honest, now there could be some agencies who might, or some websites that might say, or some blogs for that matter might say that, okay, fine, you can apply anytime and all. But personally, I would say after 3 to 4 years of your graduation, you will definitely have lower chances as compared to the fresh graduate. So the sooner you do, better it would be for your entire application to get in the first shot. With the upcoming changes in step 1, should we appear for it or after, before Jan 22? Dr. Aniket, if I was you, I would have definitely taken it in the existing system of the 3-digit score. Now, I still have about 1 year and almost 8 months. That's about 20 months from now that I have to take my step 1. So even if let's say I am like a fresh student and I've not even started with my preparation, I would still say, even if I have to start today, 20 months is a sufficient time for me to take a step 1. So if I was you, I would have definitely taken the step 3-digit score. Because later on, as I said, once it is a pass and fail, everyone will be passed, and it will be very difficult for them to choose who's the best and who's not, because everyone is passed. So for you to have a different identity, start your prep now and give it by or before December of 2021. So even if that 22 change, which is announced now, is confirmed, you have still got your step 1 scores in a 3-digit as of today. Okay. Radiology degree of India is accepted in US. That's the question sent by Ashwin. But I don't know, Ashwin, for what are you asking? Is it for practicing? Is it for a fellowship? Or is it for residency? I'm not sure. So if you can just be more specific, I'll come down, and once I again come back to your question, I'll be more clear to answer your query. How does the schedule of emergency doctors usually is in the US? Well, again, I wouldn't really give you a rosy picture that yes, it is a very calm schedule of a 9 to 6 or something like that. Yes, emergency doctors are equally, as the word equally says, emergency doctors, you will have to be on your toes, and it is not really predicted, but yes, net it will, please expect a slightly hectic schedule than the rest. How important is research? Research is really important, but again, at the end of the day, it depends on what do you want to, apply for. If you're applying for, a very low category specialty like a family medicine or an internal medicine, and even if you don't have a research, possibly it may still play the trick. But if you're looking at some surgical branches, or if you're looking at some, let's say, anesthesia or OBGYN, then yes, research is definitely going to be one such support which will help you get closer to your destination. So based on your specialty, you will have to take a call. So in a nutshell, now I don't know what specialty you're talking about, but all I can say is if you are getting into pediatric psychiatry or internal medicine, and if you don't have a research, if you can do it. If you can't because of lack of time or something, I would still say focus on USMLE and the other aspects. Because if you try for a new research at this stage, it might still take about a couple of years or maybe more, and then neither will be able to finish your USMLE nor will you be able to finish your research, and your entire plan will get stuck. But if you're looking at something which is OBGYN and above, then you don't have a choice then to start with some kind of research which will add to your CV. Please suggest the best way of preparation, Kushwant Kaur. We spoke some time back. Start with a diagnostic test, right? Share your diagnostic scores with us, and then based on your scores, we can suggest you a best time plan and a study plan, and then we can take it further from there. So Kushwant Kaur, please take our contact details from the screen, and maybe maximum in 3-4 days time, or worst scenario a week's time, please do get back to us with the diagnostic score, and we'll take it further from there. Right. What about MCR going to disintegrate in 2024? Taksh, I would need a better clarity on the question. I'm sorry, but I'm not able to understand the question. What about MCR going to disintegrate? Are you trying to say it's going to dissolve in 2024? But then, even if your question is that it's going to dissolve in 2024, that is not really going to hamper your USMLE plans in any way. So, yeah, I mean, that's I can say. I don't really understand the relevance of the question here. But yeah, if it's a generic question, then yes, let me answer it in that way, that it's not going to affect or hamper your USMLE prep in any way. Which websites to visit for applying for clinical electives? You can just go to usmle.logiquest.in. You don't even, which is there on the website, just send across your basic details, and we will send across your applications for US clinical experience. When to pursue US clinical experience? Very important. The best time that I would suggest is the internship time, because that's when you are relatively free from your academics. You can go to the US by taking a break of 2-3 months with due permission of the HODs, deans, and the relevant departments. Do your clinical experience. Do a 4 days of Kaplan coaching for Step 2 CS, give your Step 2 CS examination, and then come back to India. So in one trip, you're doing everything, and that's how it will help you with your entire plan of your USMLE. Okay. I'm in my first year now. How should I start with my preparation? So Justine, let me tell you, right now, you must be studying just the ANAT, Physio, and Biochem. So what you could do is, right now I understand the colleges are closed, but let's say today you are doing your, maybe a CVS or a CNS in anatomy, or a brachial plexus for that matter. Just whatever that you've studied in your BD or CS or Gray's anatomy, all you have to do is just open up the Kaplan's textbook of anatomy and revise the same concept from the USMLE angle. In some time, switch over to the recorded lectures of anatomy, and before you go to bed, just ensure that you solve at least about 20, 30, 40 questions on the same topic that you have done in the morning in the college, the same thing that you've revised during the evenings, and before you go to bed, just solve questions on the same topic. By doing this, you have ensured that now you don't have to do this topic again for some amount of time, because this concept is crystal clear. Now, this is going to help you in your USMLEs, as well as it is going to help you in your regular course of MBBS. So that's the best way. So tomorrow again, you're going to go to college after the, college resumes, you do a different topic. So you've done edema, come back home, do edema from physiology, switch over to the recorded lectures, question bank, So do this till the end of second year. Once you are in the third year, start with the live online lectures. Mid of third year, go and give your examination, and that's how you'll be successful in getting a good score. But by then, of course, especially for Justine, you'll be in the pass-fail category, so that will be a different dimension altogether. But for others, this would be the right way and approach to start with your studies if you're starting now. So what is the difference between integrated Q bank and the quiz bank? Now, quiz bank normally will come with 2000 plus exam like questions. It will have the other aspects like a diagnostic test, 2 full length tests, subject wise assessment tests, etc. So that is all about the question bank. And now question bank will again come in different variants, which is 1 month and 12 months, depending on what you want and how much you want. Now, if you're looking out for integrated Q bank, the basic Q bank would remain the same, which is 2100 plus exam like questions, but parallelly you will also have 80 hours of online interactive videos, which are the high yield topics. You will also have 26 mastery assessments containing 480 MCQs, which is like exam like, and 2 full length tests. And again, you can take a 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, or a 24 months of integrated Q bank as well. So there are like different variants that you can go for. So that's the difference between a Q bank and an integrated Q bank. Any impact of next with the plans to pursue USMLE? Now, overall, if I have to see, Shrejit, the picture as of now is not very clear. So if I have to say yes, there is an impact or there is not an impact, I would not want to comment on that for a simple reason. Everyone, including the NMC, is in dark. No one knows what is going to happen. So I don't want to answer your question just to be a hero for the heck of it. But yes, everyone is in dark and we all are just waiting to see what happens with the first batch. Only then everyone would be clear about things, right? But sorry, Shrejit, I'm equally, inquisitive to know what is going to happen with the next coming in, because I know that there are like two exams, next one and next two. Next one you give after the end of your final year, and during your internship year you give your next two, which the next two scores will be considered for your NEET PG. But how easy or how difficult would that be? No one knows, right? Next is it possible to get the checklist of evaluation in the step 2 CS? If that would have been possible, Sanjana, then everyone would have just focused on those 8, 10, 20, 25 parameters and wouldn't have given their best. So it is a 100% confidential evaluation checklist, which no one has. But yes, based on certain experience, Kaplan in the US, when we have a 4 days of coaching, we certainly have a 4 days coaching where we touch base on the important aspects based on the previous students, what questions and what situations were there based on which we definitely has. The best part is there could be so many other agencies in the US offering the step 2 CS coaching, but in the US with Kaplan, the student to patient ratio is 1:3. So for every 3 students we have 1 patient. So you have a better exposure, hands-on exposure while you are practicing for your step 2 CS during your 4 days of coaching in the US. All right. As I'm in third year, is it okay to start with the preparation? Srutvik, absolutely yes, it is good. It is never too late to start, because if you think it's not now, then next year it is definitely not going to be possible. And by then, again, in the internship year, when you start, it's going to be a big question mark in front of you. Should you start with a NEET PG or a next whatever is going to come into force then, or you want to start with your USMLEs, or you want to do what? And then you open up a particular book, and then at least you study for about a year or so, and then if you succeed, that's great. But if you don't, then again it's going to be a big question in front of you. Now where do I do? Do I go left and take a Indian PG? Do I go right and take a USMLE? That's going to be super tough for you. What I recommend normally is, if you start with your prep now, take your USMLEs as early as you can. There are going to be only 2 possible outcomes. One is you're going to have either you've scored good, then okay, fine, 1 step to CK and I'm done, or you've screwed up so badly that okay, fine, the US doors are closed and I better focus on my NEET PG or next or any other exam for that matter. So, just because USMLE, the eligibility starts early, I would recommend you also start early and be sure of what you want to get into. Sharon says, which year of MBBS is ideal to start with the preparation of step 1? Again, there's no set rule. I have lot many students starting from the first years also, second years also. I've got interns starting, I've got passed out starting. So again, there's no set rule, but yeah, if you're in the second year, ideally that's great because you've settled down in your MBBS. You've done with the first year syllabus, so you have enough on your plate to start in terms of content. Parallelly, you can do the same revision of your college micropatho and immuno and pharmac. So side by side you can do. So second year technically would be slightly easier or better to do it. Are Indian research and publication of any value? Yes, absolutely. Every research which is published is definitely going to add value, because not any research will be published. Certainly, if it is outstanding, only then it is going to get published. So definitely, no matter it's Indian research, it will certainly be appreciated. Are extracurriculars generally considered in application? Yes, absolutely, because I told you some time back, the first is USMLE score, second is the quality of application package. In the quality of application package, nothing else but this is what these guys keep on hunting for. So that's the best part. Step 1 this year or after CRRI, since step 1 will be pass fail after 22, current medical third year medical students also, will the step 1 scores become null and void after 22? So if you have taken step 1 in the 3-digit score now, and let's say fast forward it is 2024, will your three-digit score be null and void? If that is the question, Krishna, no, it will not be null and void. You will still go ahead and apply for your residency based on your three-digit score. Rather, that should be your approach, which is why I am again and again saying that, do your step one in a three-digit, so you have a higher chance as compared to a pass fail. That is what I'm trying to say. So it will definitely not be null and void. You will move on with the three-digit score, and others will move on with the pass or fail. But it will not be changed to pass or fail, or it will not become null and void. What are the chances of getting matched into surgery residency? Ahan, I'm sorry, but we've discussed this twice or thrice now. But again, I'm sure you're listening to me and you've already got an answer to your question. Kushwant, please tell which subject needs more practice. Now, again, it's a twofold question, Kushwant. One is, again, high yield from their perspective is your three-piece patho, pharmac, and physio. These three are high yield. So this definitely needs higher attention. However, on the contrary, if you have any other subject which you personally feel that you are weak into, let's say an anatomy, or let's say a behavioral science for that matter, or biochemistry. Now, biochemistry is one terror for all medical students. So if you feel that your biochemistry is weak, certainly it needs more practice. Sainandan, as a third year student, is it better to write now or after graduation? Again, if you think you are exam ready, why wait? Go ahead and write. But if you've just begun and if you are not confident that you'll be able to do it by end of this year, you may possibly want to push it to graduation. But again, I would not recommend that, because after graduation is like academic gap of at least 2 years to a maximum of 3 years, because step one itself will take about close to 1 year, and CKCS itself will take about another 1 year. And then again, you will apply, and in the third or the fourth year that you will get a seat for residency. So that academic gap, describing or proving it during your interviews is going to be super tough. So don't postpone under any circumstance, Sainandan. Try to finish it as early. If finishing all steps now is not possible, but at least try and finish with one of the steps. It will certainly take off 1/3 of your load, even if you finish with one step now. And right now, at least you can start with a CS also and then take a step one. But later on, unless and until you've done with your step one, you cannot take your CS. So that is one thing that do not forget. You said earlier that pass step one exam, then you can reattempt it after 7 years. But what if you pass step one and then fail step two? Will we have to wait for 7 years and do it all over again? No, in that case, you will just have to see. If you fail, you can give it again within the next 3 months. You don't have to wait for 7 years. Only if you pass, but your scores are not satisfactory and it is like a borderline score, only in that case, you will have to wait for 7 years to re-improvise your scores. Of course, practically no one is going to wait. So in that scenario, either you're going to move ahead with the same score or you will drop, but you're not going to wait for 7 years. So what I said or what I mentioned earlier is only if you pass and your scores are not satisfactory, you will have to wait for 7 years. If you failed in one or CK, you can give it again in the next 3 months. I hope I'm clear. When we can give step one in the third year, Mahir Soni, 365 days minus the Sundays, minus the national holidays, the exam center is open for you, of course, minus the COVID period right now. Please, Arpit, share your details. Yes, it is already on the screen right now, Arpit. How many minimum residency programs should one apply for internal medicine? Now, again, it is a very technical question, but again, I would suggest frida.ama-association, that is assn.org. This is the official website. I repeat, make a note of it. FREIDA, frida.ama, that is American Medical Association, dash, that's a hyphen, associations short form, which is assn.org. If you go to this website, you will feel, you will actually get to know what exactly, which are the universities or hospitals or the places that are offering you internal medicine, because there are thousands of them who are offering. Now, how many to apply again depends on lot many situations, which is your USMLE score, which is your other aspects of your application, etc. And then you can finalize on that. But again, as I said sometime back, 100 to 200 applications Indian students do send, and that's a basic norm. All right. Next is I'm a secondary student. How to start off the preparation? Again, the same thing which I said. Start with your textbooks, switch over to your videos, then do your question bank, and just keep on this with this rotation at specific intervals. Let's say once in a month or once in 2 months. Do take assessment tests. See how much your scores have improved. Where are they going wrong? Why are they going wrong? Is it the time management issue or is it the content issue? Was it a silly mistake? Was it a grave mistake? Do that analysis before. Start with your live lectures. Once you're done with everything, you will be assigned with a medical advisor. Discuss all of this history with him or her, and then they will be in a much better position to pull up your scores from where you are as of today. That's the best way you can start off with your preparation. Right. How do we know which program is better than the other program? Now, again, it's not about how do you know, but it's about what is your area of interest. If you are looking forward for pediatrics, right? Now, pediatrics, you can then search in the Frida website, which I spoke about. You will have hundreds of listings where all pediatrics is accepted. You can Google out, you can watch Google reviews, get in touch with the alumni. There are 100 ways to do this basic research. If nothing works, or you can always come back to us, and then we can give you those extra inputs that you're looking out for. So that will help you make a confirmed decision. How can we get experience in clinical experience in the US? Again, the same thing, but you can contact us, write an email to USMLE at Logiquest. We can shoot across your applications to any part of US of your choice. Which books to be used for step 1? Now, with the Kaplan course that we recommend, it comes with textbooks, so you do not have to buy anything other than Kaplan. But if you're still asking for some extra references, I would just say stick to first aid book, because that's considered to be the Bible of all the USMLE students, and that should really play the trick. That should help you. Otherwise, there are hundreds of other things like Pathoma is there, Golian is there, Najib's lecture is there, Lecturio is there. There are hundreds of things. If you keep on, referring to everything, more than giving you a guarantee of passing, I will give you a guarantee you will never be able to clear, because time is running and you're doing the same thing from edition 1, edition 2, edition 3, edition 4, edition 5, the same thing. So we have to be smart enough. What resources are given to you by Kaplan, those are sufficient, and those are actually given to you with a proper planning and anticipation by these PhD doctors. So stick to those resources, which is more than sufficient. Only over and above what Kaplan offers you, over and above the first aid that I have to give you as a suggestion, 2 additional things that I would want you to do. One is your UWorld, and other is solve the NBMEs before you appear for the real USMLE exam. So those things keep in mind. I guess you're good to go. Rutvij has to ask, hi sir, will it be possible for me to complete my 1-year bond of rural service, or will I have to break it? Now, Rutvij, this is a call between you and your medical school. If your rural bond is breakable at some fee, and if you're ready to pay for it, you may go for it. But if you think there's no such clause of paying, then you will have to serve for 1 year. You don't have a choice. But if you think that they're asking for 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, and I'm ready to pay, please go ahead. That's absolutely fine. That should not be a problem. How is it there in the US to enter subspecialties? Do we have to write a different exam or something? Not at all. So if you want to get into a subspecialty, let's say after doing your internal medicine, if you want to get into endocrino, or let's say you want to get into cardio, in those cases, you don't have to write any other exam. After your 3 years of medicine, you apply for a fellowship program, which ranges between 1 year, 2 years, in a very few cases, maybe 3 years also. Sorry. But on an average, let's say about an average of 2 years of subspecialty, and you directly get into without writing any exam, because you've already proven yourself by writing USMLE and doing a 3 years of medicine, so no other exam is required for you. So I hope that answers Rafetak. will my scores be reported after 22? If you give your exam now, it will be reported now. If you give it after 22, it will be reported after 22. Is this the hotline number of what or on WhatsApp number? Yes, you can call, WhatsApp, SMS, everything is open on this number, Margaret. Shrejit, should we extend our internship in India? Shrejit, can you tell me why? If you're taking a break in between to go to the US and come back for your US clinical experience, then that's a separate story. But if you are extending for maybe studying for step 1 or CK, something like that, again, depends how long are you extending. It all depends on that. So, it's a very, I mean, I cannot give you a straight answer to it unless and until I know the background as to why are you extending and how long are you extending. Because there are certain norms. If you're extending for ABC, it may be okay. If you're extending it for XYZ, it may not be okay. So I don't know what is your purpose. So you can always give me a call or WhatsApp it to me. I will be, in a better position to answer that. LORs from the army or the military, paramilitary, do they help? Is it the Indian military? And if yes, what have you done? What was your role there? That is important, because LOR eventually is important. No LOR is useless, no matter it is from your college, your dean, your HOD, army, paramilitary, US, everything is important. But why US letters of recommendation are having a higher weightage than from India is because they know that you have over and above India, you have also worked in the US. So you're exposed to the US healthcare system. And that's what they are interested in. So that does not mean that your Indian experience is a waste. But then they know that your norms, your culture is restricted to your country. My norms, my culture, that's what I need, which is why that is also important, and US is definitely important. Do we have to write any other exam to enter into subspecialties? Again, I guess it's a double question. When is the best time to get a US clinical experience? Karuna, we've spoken about this, which is nothing but your internship year, because that's when you're free. Second year, third year, you can't even go, and leaving your college and everything, it's just not possible. What are the chances of matching into surgery? Again, we've same thing. I missed your answer for surgery residency. I hope if you can just ping me and tell me, Ahan, that have you heard me about surgery residency? That's great. Otherwise, towards the end, I will repeat and answer your query again. Pranavi says, what are the chances of IMGs getting matched into plastic surgery or orthopedics? Orthopedics is still fine, but plastic surgery is super tough. But again, it is not as impossible as ENT, dermat, or ophthal. So you will really have to slog hard, get me a 265, 270 plus, Pranavi, and then we can talk further about this, whether you qualify, don't qualify, and what are the add-ons you will have to do, get on then to get into the specialty of your choice, which is plastic surgery. But orthopedics, again, 5 years of gen seg and then 2-3 years of ortho. That's the route that you will have to take to get into the US. Richa Verma says, what are the chances to get general surgery? Again, it is tough, but it is not impossible. But when I'm saying tough, I am just trying to say, get me a 260, 265 plus kind of a score to get into a surgical program. And, when I say it's tough, this is the first hurdle. Most of them say, sir, I'm a brilliant student, I can get you the score. But when we actually test, few of them get about a 240, 240 plus, 250 at the max, whereas they do not qualify the norms of about a 255, 260 plus kind of a score. And that's where, the difference is between whether can you get, can you not get, is it easy or is it tough? So that's how it works. Can I get help with US surgical experience in ophthal? You mean to say US clinical experience in ophthal is what you want? Well, we can try for it, but there are not many students opting for US clinical experience in ophthal because of the toughness of the specialty. But if you want, we can certainly try sending across your applications. It's definitely not going to cost you any money. So you can always try your luck, and we can definitely take it further. Please share your contact details. Arpit, again, the second time we are repeating the same question. Java Bean Glassfish says, what is the total cost of application incurred on average until you start earning in residency? Well, residency, it's you start earning on the very first day. So the total cost right from today till the date you start with, till the time you finish with all the steps, application, everything is done, visas, flight tickets, everything is done. As I said some time back, about 20 lakhs is required. So keep aside 20 lakhs, and as and when you need, you can withdraw from that 20 lakhs and spend on the other aspects which is required at periodic intervals, until you start earning. And day one of your residency, you become eligible. Day 30, you get your first salary slash stipends slash earnings, whatever, right? Gayatri Sudahari, when to write step 1, now or after 22? Again, we've discussed right now if you think you can do it. But if you're a first year student, by 22, obviously you will not be eligible. But if you're a second year student or a third year student, please do not miss out on the opportunity on a 3-digit score. Again and again, I'm saying, do not miss out on the opportunity of 3-digit score. Try to get that on your record, on your CV. That is very important than a pass or a fail. And again, I will repeat the same example. In short, compare a 250 pass and a 194 pass. Both of them have passed. Now, I'm a program director. How do I go further? Just because the 194 is smart enough during the interviews and I pick him up, how would a 250 feel, right? And there are other aspects that you will also have to work hard on your CV. So life is short. We don't have much time. We have to take care of MBBS also, USMLEs also, and on top of that, outperform in US clinical experience, step 2 CK, other things. There are many things. So try and minimize your things by having a smart move. Take a 3-digit score, right? When to write? Okay. What is the procedure for getting into Canada? I'm a Canadian citizen, but did my MBBS in India. Will that be helpful in any way? Well, again, you will be called as an IMG at the end of the day, no matter you've done it from India or anywhere else. But again, you will have to crack a MACI 1 and a MACI 2 exam, MCCEE and a MCCEE 1 and MCCEE 2. There are two such exams, just like USMLE Step 1 and Step 2 CK. You'll have to crack both the exams. However, you said that you are a citizen. So there's another exam for citizens, which is MCCQEE, right? So you'll have to clear or crack both. Unfortunately, Kaplan does not have any such course for Canada specific that I can help you with a course as such. But again, if you're still interested, maybe either you can do a self prep, or since the syllabus is same, you can do a USMLE prep and then appear for the MACI exam as per your choice, right? How hard is it to get into neurology? Neurology, again, neurology and general surgery are like twin brothers. So whatever the toughness of general surgery be is the same for neurology as well, right? Because neurology, neurosurgery, and general surgery, all three are like considered into the same bracket. Difference between family medicine and internal medicine. Well, both are medicine. Internal medicine you can at least do a further subspecialty, but in family medicine is just like a physician. How we have physicians or family doctors here around India. So you don't have a brighter or a wider scope in a family medicine. So an internal medicine would be a better choice. At least you can think about in the next 2 or 3 years and at least do a subspecialty if you want to do so. Can you give more information about the integrated neurosurgery or the integrated CVT surgery for 6 years? Now, do you want a syllabus or what is it? I don't know. If you can specify, I can certainly look into it as to what exactly you're looking out for. Can we come back and practice in India and residency in the US? And will there be in India after coming back from US? Yes, absolutely. You can come back to India and directly on day one you can plug and play. You don't have to give any exam as well, and straight you'll be welcomed. Yes, there are definitely going to be a lot of opportunities, especially in the private hospitals, because if you've done it in a particular specialty, and if that hospital has that vacancy, you are definitely going to be considered and welcomed. You will certainly have a high fat pay package, as I showed you earlier. It may possibly not be exactly the same, but maybe a little bit here and there, because again, different countries, different currency. So those norms would differ. Otherwise, you're good to go. Kaplan pricings for the whole thing, and does it cover UWorld Q banks as well? Well, UWorld is a separate product. It's not a, it does not come, it is not owned by Kaplan, so UWorld is separate and Kaplan is separate. However, we recommend you doing UWorld, but again, different people will have different requirements. Like some of you may just need a Q bank of UWorld, some of you may need a test series of UWorld, some of you may need a Q bank plus test series plus evaluation or assessment as well. So there are different packages. You can just go to uworld.com and you can look at the various packages that UWorld has to offer. As far as pricings are concerned, you can just go to captest.com/USMLE, which is the Kaplan US website. You will see all these pricings are in it's in dollars, and it's a huge amount. But Logiquest, being the official certified education provider or official partner of Kaplan in India, we of course cannot charge our students in dollars or such high humongous price that Kaplan has to offer. But all I can say is, we definitely have maybe up to 40% or maybe less than that discount. I guess what I can suggest you is you can just call up on these local branches, and you can find out about the discounted price, because I just take care of the subject matter thing, pricing and all. You can just look at your local branches at this point in time. What else should I need for getting in surgical field? Rutvik, again, we've discussed all these points: add-ons, CV, research, publication. These are the same things that is required, and most importantly, how do you perform yourself during the interview? So let's say, for example, you've done every possible thing that we've asked you to do, and they've asked you some questions where you've goofed up crazily. Now, despite having everything, if you've made a fool out of yourself, just giving a hypothetical example, no one on this planet can even retrieve the losses that you've made during the live session of half an hour, 45 minutes of your interview. So it's not one particular thing that I would want to point out, that it's just the USMLE scores or it's just the application package, but it's the combination of all as a whole. And so your interview performance equally is important. Now, if you want to know more about what kind of questions are asked during the interviews, now, because sometime back I had a question from some students saying, can we get a checklist of the step to CS patients, on what parameters? Now, that is not open to all, but interview questions, definitely I can help you with. All I can say is go to my website, which is there on the screen. Go to my website under the residency process. All the residency process is detailed, explained onto my website. Go read through it, and then there's one hyperlink given here. Download here for the frequently asked interview questions. Download that PDF. You will have over 150 questions that we have mentioned over there. Go through it, so you will have a better idea about what type of questions are asked, so you can mentally be prepared and start preparing yourself, groom yourself from that aspect right from now. Okay, I have taken a Kaplan Q bank. What are the other Q banks that I can refer to? So again, sometime back, as we said, apart from this, UWorld and NBMEs. Again, NBME is not a Q bank, but take their tests. Q bank and UWorld, 2 Q banks are more than sufficient. Anyone else offering you something else, don't fall a prey to it. You will end up wasting your time. I don't want that. I'm from Kerala. Is there any accessible Kaplan centers in Kerala? Well, you can either approach Bangalore or you can approach Chennai. Those are the 2 closest centers. Again, you can call up on the numbers and you'll be routed there accordingly. How long is the step 1 score valid for in the exam? Is if the exam is taken anywhere between before 21 and 22. From the date of your exam, your scores are valid for 7 long good years. So that answers. Are there any advantages to taking the Kaplan training program in the US as opposed to taking a home course? Now, if you are not able to go to the US, stay in the US, because when you go to the US, you will have to go on a student visa. So if you do not have a visa, you'll have to apply for one. You'll have to, book your flight tickets, go to the US, stay in the US. Again, accommodation is taken care by us. We provide you everything. That logistics is not a problem. But if time is a problem, and if you think I cannot go because I'm a 3rd year student or a 2nd year student, I cannot leave college and go right now, then possibly Sitting at home and doing a home course is definitely good. But if you're an intern or a passed out and you have no commitments per se, then going to the US is definitely the best possible option. Again, let me quote, not now after the COVID normalizes, but God himself knows when is it going to happen. So at this time, if you want to see, looking at US, I don't know, maybe it may take about 6 months also. Do you want to wait 6 months, or do you want to start now and cover up those 6 months? That's the question. So I will again say, start now. Later on, we can see if you want to upgrade to US or something. That's a separate story. But right now, do not waste the next 6 months. They are very crucial. All of us are home. We have ample time. Do not waste time and start studying. Make the most of the time. Any chance of residency in radiology? Yes, radiology, very much possible. There are a lot many students that we have who have opted for radiology. Few of them are in the process. A few of them have also got through. So yes, that should not be a problem for getting into radio. Again, subject to a good profile that you would be, presenting. How do I begin third year? We've covered this ECFMG certification problem. India for 23, will that be a problem? See, again, 61% of the workforce in the US as of today are Indian students. India is the biggest producer of doctors in the residency program. We fill in a lot of gap when it comes to the US residency. So it is just not possible for Indian market or any Indian accrediting body to step back and not send any students to the US. So earlier it was the ECFMG through which the World Directory and other things they were, they were checking whether the college is listed, and then through the ECFMG the certification used to happen. However, from 2023, the WFME has announced to make changes in the accrediting body from each country. So from our country, to what I know, MCI was supposed to be the next body. However, because of the NMC and MCI thing which is happening right now, it's I won't say it's cancelled or something, but it is just on hold. So I guess they are just waiting for MCI to stabilize and get into action. Then immediately this NMC is anticipated to be the accrediting body for the certification which we are talking about. Is it better to try publishing research paper in an average or any American journal, or better one from suppose UK? But again, where you are publishing, I wouldn't really give that much of an importance, because these days getting it published itself is a big task, and the topic equally has to be a handsome topic which really makes a lot of difference. So if you are trying to be choosy that if I publish, I will do it from American journal only or UK journal only, I will not do it, then you may miss the chance. So I would suggest try your luck everywhere, even like try ICMR also for that matter. And in one of their journals in the IJMR, if it gets published, it is equally going to have a good value. So do not be of that opinion that only if it is published in American journals it's going to have weightage. Otherwise it's not, because you also know, I also know, it is not possible for everyone. So where should other students go? Everyone should have a fair chance. So which is why try out all other options. If you have some option in UK or so, maybe you can go ahead. But again, how would you justify why UK? Why not US? Why not India? India being a home country. So first is look out for ICMR also, parallel look out for US also. And then whichever strikes our luck, it's good for us. Any chance of DERMAT? Super tough. We've discussed. Do we get letters of recommendation after graduation through externship? Now, if you still have questions about, I am a graduate and as a graduate, I'm not allowed to touch the patient, come back to me. I will give you all those postings. I will give you all those, US clinical experience with hands-on experience and a letter of recommendation. So, because we have lot of at Logiquest, we definitely do have a lot of tie-ups with the US hospitals, and it's not one or two that I can mention. It's right from length and breadth of US. So you just name that I want on the West Coast, I want on the East Coast, I want in Florida City, I want it in Chicago. I will get you all the possible hospitals, get you placed, ensuring that you have a hands-on clinical experience. At times, there are some state laws that we will have to abide. And let's say if a particular state does not allow, we can always change the state, but we will ensure that if we are doing hands-on, otherwise we are not doing it. Will not volunteering, just following social distancing during this pandemic, going to bite us later on? Well, it's as you said, it is pandemic. Everyone knows, and they will consider at some point in time, but it is not going to be a permanent situation. So at a later point, when once the pandemic is like back to normal, you can start with your volunteering. All right. I hope that's your question. But if you think I've got your question wrong, you can rephrase and put it back. I will answer it. How to do clinical rotation and get letter of recommendation in the US, and should we do it after step 1 or later? Well, if you are a student, then you have a higher chance, or I would say more number of universities or hospitals are open to offer you hands-on clinical experience. Right? That's the basic difference. And when you compare with step 1 or no step 1 scores, if you have a step 1, then again you have a higher chance. So, but that again, that does not mean that if you don't have a step 1, you will not get a hands-on clinical rotation. You can still get. But again, we'll have to evaluate the situation. If you have nothing but time is just running out of your hands and you have some plans to go to the US, then why not go and take the US clinical rotations and come back? But that is definitely not a basic norm for you, that unless and until you have a step 1, you will not get a clinical rotation. That is definitely not a norm. So let's evaluate the situation and send across our applications accordingly. Again, we do not charge students for any processing fee or something at Logiquest. So feel free, do not have any hesitation when it comes to applying for clinical rotations through the Logiquest team. Is there any possibility of getting DERMAT? Oh, again, the same question. Can we get US clinical experience anytime after MBBS in India? After we complete MBBS, yes, you can do it after you complete, after you graduate also, you will still get hands-on clinical experience. Dhanu Hammer, that's the name of the student. But again, as I said, even if you're a graduate, I can still help you with hands-on clinical rotations. The only difference would be you will have less opportunities offering you hands-on rotations, but as a student, you will have more options. That's the only difference. Otherwise, there is no other, difference or any biasness when it comes to graduate or a student. Is there any possibility of getting DERMAT? Oh my God, same questions again. Elaborate on different kinds of USC, observership, clerkship, etc. Again, all these ships at the end of the day, do not get confused with the words or terminology as to this ship and that ship and clerkship and observership and internship and externship. All we need to bifurcate and make it so simple is hands-on and non-hands-on. Let's make it as simple, because it's a very exhaustive term. Different people have different terminologies, which in turn is confusing students. So what I would recommend is make it simple, hands-on and non-hands-on. Now we are not aiming at non-hands-on, so all we need is just the hands-on, right? And we will offer you, if you're offering, we're offering you hands-on, otherwise we are not offering you. As simple as that. Any advantage of for Canadian citizen who studied in MBBS in India? No, and end of the day, you will still be an IMG only, non-US IMG for that matter. I'm a 4th year. Can I do step 2 CK before I could do a step 1? Well, since your subjects are going parallelly, and if you have already started with your plans of your step 2 CK, stick to it, and just be confident about your subjects rather than just shuffling between step 1 and step 2 CK. Otherwise, neither will be able to focus on CK nor your step 1. What are my chances of getting residency, surgery? Again, the same question. I'm in my internship. I want to pursue surgery. Shall I do research now? Now, well, how long? You need to answer a cross question, Amruta Sai. how long do you think you will need for completing your research? If it's going to be 2 years or 3 years, then again you may have that extra cookie with you that you've done a research, but again on the other side you have stained your CV by having a 2 years or 3 years of gap on your CV, which will again not be a good choice. If it is surgery, you don't have a choice, but again you'll have to be quick and not waste much of time, so that you have a surgery, you can apply for surgery also, you will have a research also, possibly getting that published, and you should not stain your CV by having a long gap. Maybe 1 year if you have, maybe you can say I was studying for one CS whatever, but if you have take 2 years and 3 years, possibly it will spoil your entire plan. Put the link on the comments, please. Which link do you need, Glassfish? If you can tell me, I can put that link. Is a possibility of getting a residency in Anil Reddy? You've pasted the same question almost 10 times, so which is why I'm kind of getting confused. Sorry about that. Will my USMLE step 1 score be valid after 22? Yes, I know my chances are very slim to get into opthol, but how do you suggest me to make my application strong apart from scores? How do I plan my backup plans? Well, to be very honest, Riona, just have at least maybe 1 or 2 backup plans, that if opthol does not work, what's the next specialty that you would be open for. If you are very rigid that if I want only opthol, otherwise I don't want anything, then possibly you're digging a pit for yourself. Then either look out for something in India, or if you're looking at US only, then be open for anything else other than opthal. Then we can talk about a plan B or a plan C, but just basis that I want to opthal only, then it will be very difficult for us to survive. Okay. How hard is it to get into neurology? Again, the same question. Please shed some light on Kaplan validity, Q banks, and tests. Aishwarya, Kaplan validity, there's no concern with validity. The live online course that we're talking about should not bother you with any kind of validity concerns. It can be valid for as long as you're studying and you want to start with your live lectures. The validity should not concern you. Q banks, again, we have 1 year Q bank, 2 year Q banks also, and that should not that should be sufficient. And tests also you can take inside the Q bank. How hard is it to match in those integrated 6-year courses right after finishing MBBS? Again, you've not specified which specialty, Sai, so I don't know which specialty you're talking about. So if you specify, I can just tell you. But again, it's going to boil down to the same thing. Are you talking about a surgical branch or a non-surgical branch? If it is a non-surgical branch, it's going to be easy for you to get into as compared to a surgical branch. And if it is surgical branch, you will have to slog right from now to ensure that you have the best possible CV and the scores to get in. Which other countries apart from US where USMLE is valid? You can use USMLE scores in other countries also, like you can, if you want to get into New Zealand, or maybe if you want to get into Australia, so you can use your USMLE scores, and but you will still have to give your exam of that country, like NZREX exam or AMC exam, and USMLE exam will help you. It will be easier for you to get into. Will past system fail make it hard for IMGs for getting into residency? I wouldn't say it's going to be hard or tough, but yes, it will be hard for you to focus on your CV, because then there are going to be some extra add-ons, because you are a pass and you don't have any other cookie with you to say that, hey, I've got this also. So you'll have to work on the other aspects like clinical experience, better score in CK, etc. Is it possible to do an internship in the US instead of routine internship we do after 4 years in India? Well, as far as India is concerned, it's a compulsory internship that you will have to do in India in order for you to get an MBBS degree. As far as the internship in US is concerned, it is not easy. Yes, clinical experience is easy, but getting an internship, like you're taking an extension or externship to US and getting in over there, it is definitely tough. Or rather, I haven't really seen students doing that, because there are state norms, country norms, and you coming from India and directly, you will have to touch the patient, and all of those things will come into picture. So you don't have a license, so many things, and which is why it is like kind of tough. Can I go for coaching for both next and USMLE simultaneously in the third year? It's all about balancing, Rakshit, and I would not really recommend you to, balance between the two, because it's like, uh, jack of all, master of none. Just focus on one. I wouldn't say do USMLE. I wouldn't say do next. Just focus on one and just be with that, and just go ahead with one only. So then you know that yes, USMLE is what I want, and that's what I have to focus. Nothing more than that. But again, next being again compulsory, you don't have a choice. So as far as the concepts are concerned, your USMLE concepts, when you learn in an advanced level, those will help you in your next preparation. But the next preparation will surely not help you in your USMLE preparation, that's for sure. Can you everyday average Indian medical students train for USMLE and have a smooth landing after a year, etc. of prep? Can you everyday average Indian medical student train for USMLE and have a smooth landing after a year? Java bean glassfish, can you please reframe your question? I'm so sorry, I haven't understood this, but in the meanwhile, I'll just move on and I will wait for your question. How long should I prepare for maximum for appearing for step 1? I'm in second year right now. So start now, finish with your on-demand recorded lectures, question bank assessments, etc. by the end of second year, finish it off. Third year, beginning, start with your live lectures, finish those in the next 3.5 to 4 months, focus on your UWorld, get your NBMEs done, and maybe June, July, or maximum by August, go and get done with your real USMLE exam in the third year. That's the best plan that I can suggest you, Sanjana. Anirudh, when will the board conduct slots for step 1 this year? Does the pandemic has any impact on that? Board conduct the slots. Now, board specifically, obviously, it means the medical board in the US. Are you talking about the step 3? And if yes, I mean, if you're asking when are the board going to open, it's very tough for anyone to predict how long will the pandemic take to come back to normal. So we're all hoping that it opens up soon. But again, it looks like it should take at least about 4 months for things to normalize in the US. I'm not talking India per se. India is far better in control as compared to US. If I finish my MS General Surgery in India and then do my steps and apply for surgical residency, will it increase my chances to match? It's a yes also and a no also, because if you were to match, you can match now also, and if you're not destined to match, you will not match later also. I mean, I did not understand the logic of doing a double MS, because you're doing a MS here also for 3 years, and then again you're going to the US and doing a 5 years of MS General Surgery. I mean, for what? Why would you want to repeat? I mean, I can understand if you want to do a specialized, like a ortho, or you do a 5 years of MS in the general surgery in US, and then 2 or 3 years of ortho. I can still understand that plan. But you want to do a MS here and you want to do a MS there. I have not understood the background of it, so I would not really recommend. And if you're saying that you want to do your MS here and then do a super specialty there, chances will be all the more slim as compared to residency, that is for sure. You will have a wider scope in getting a residency and a very slim scope in doing your fellowship. That is how the stats has been talking for the last few decades. Next question is, research projects we do, is it okay if it is not related to the residency that we may choose, or will the research be considered better if it's the same subjects like pediatrics? Of course, Samprita, let's say I'm a program director, I'm interviewing you, and I ask you a question, why do you want to get into pediatrics? And then you start with your story. Sir, pediatrics is my passion. Right from my first year, I was so enthusiastic about pediatrics. I love pediatrics. I love small babies. I love kids. This. Then my counter question is going to be, then why the hell did you do your your research into something else like a medicine or a psychiatry? And then you don't have an answer for it. So, and if you then say that I was not sure whether I'll be applying for residency, which means you were not determined for that particular or you were not passionate for that particular specialty, you just came here for an interview because you got shortlisted, you were not really serious about it. So that may somewhere leave a very negative impact. So that has to be handled very carefully. I would still recommend, first thing, what specialty you want to get into, and then start working into that field and slog and do whatever it takes, but be into that field and show all the add-ons of that field only rather than having a cross field. Ahan Dixit, you missed the residency surgery. Okay. And I will repeat it for you towards the end. Just hold on because there are a lot many students waiting, and I guess we are just going a little bit over because of a lot of questions that I'm getting. I'm a third year student preparing. Should I be worried about the clerkships now? Anirudh, we still have 2 years. If you haven't taken your step one right now, I would rather want you to be worried about your step one rather than being worried about your clerkships now. So don't worry about your clerkships. I will give you clerkships whenever you want it, but right now what I want you to do is do your step one focus and get the best possible score. Sign in. Then after MBBS in India, if I do my postgrad in UK, will that be valid in the US? And can I just start work in the US, or do I still have to do residency in surgery? Anyone coming from outside the US, no matter you've done it from India or UK or anywhere, you will still have to repeat your residency in the US. So not a good choice. Either you directly go to the US or you don't go to the US. As simple as that. Orthopedic surgeon, 10 years experience. Can I get into resident? Can I get into ready for residency? What if you're an orthopedic surgeon, let's say from India, what specialty do you want to get into the US? Is it orthopedics again? If yes, you will have to do 5 years of general surgery and then 2 or 3 years of further orthopedic surgery. That is what you will have to follow the route if you want to get into US. My Ahan Dixit, my research has been approved by ICMR in pathology. Congratulations, Ahan. That's nice. But I'm looking forward for surgery residency. Will that be a problem? Well, at this stage, I don't know which year you are in, but since it's got approved, just get done with pathology, and later on, if you're seriously interested in getting into surgery or surgical field, I would then rather suggest do another research in surgery and ensure that that equally gets approved. So then you can say that while I was in my first year and I didn't want to waste time, I was not exposed to surgery, so I did instead of wasting time, I did something in pathology. However, my future goal was surgery. So as and when I climbed my years into second year and third year, I got involved into clinicals. I started with my surgery research, and eventually I got that published. So that's the best way you can do and put it across to the officials out there. What are the chances of an average MBBS student scoring well after a year of prep? Scoring well after a year, etc. of prep. Well, again, it's not a recipe. USMLE is not a recipe that because I have studied for 6 months, so I'm going to score less. I have studied for 1 year, so I'm going to score high. And because I've been studying for the last 3 years, I'm going to score super high. It's not a recipe. It's all about how well you know and how well are you performing before you give the exam. That is what is important. So if you're saying that you've been, what are the chances of average MBBS scoring well after a year, etc. of prep? The best thing is take some tests, take 4 or 5 tests, see how you are improving. How are the scores going? How is the graph? Is it going upward, upward, upward? And what is the last score? Are you getting stuck at a 210, 220? Then even if it's a year's preparation, it's hopeless. It's of no use. But if the graph is going high, and if you've 240, 250 plus, yes, it's a great sign. It's an indication that before the graph goes down, go ahead and go and give the exam now. That's the best way you can analyze yourself. I'm a third year student. When can I appear for step 1? Now, since you're a third year student, you're definitely eligible to appear this year. But are you exam ready? If yes, now is the time. If no, then you'll have to wait for some time, prep well, and then go and give your exam. Or I don't know which college are you from, but if your college is also registered in the World Directory, that is another aspect that you will have to look into. Is it necessary to take up TOEFL along with USMLE? Shrejit, absolutely not. You don't need TOEFL along with USMLE. Can a specialist from India get employment in the US? If yes, does it involve the same steps as that of an undergraduate? Employment as in what employment are you talking about? As a doctor, as a surgeon, as a physician? If yes, without residency, no one is allowed to touch the patient in the US. So again, what are the steps as an undergraduate? Undergraduate, I don't know what employment are you talking about as an undergraduate. So be specific I will have to, look into the question again before I could answer. As an undergraduate employment, I don't know, it's not going hand in hand. Do specialists have to take step 3 before the licensing part of the exam and conducted by a different board from a step 1 and step 2 CK? Or do specialists just have to take step 3 since it's licensing part of the exam and conducted? Well, step 3 is a licensing exam before you, start taking the ownership of the patient. Step 3 is mandate for you to take and get a license before you could start practicing. So there are no two ways about it. I hope I've got your question correct. Otherwise, you can reframe. Since I'm a currently in 4th year student, I thought of giving step 2 CK before step 1. But if I do that, then I may have to give step 1 after 22. So please suggest which step should I give first, sir? Well, again, eventually step 2 CK, you will have to have a great score. And in any case, if you feel that it's going to overlap your 22, and if you don't want, if you're okay with a pass fail despite all the suggestions and inputs, then you continue with the same plan. But if you think no, I want, it's better to have a 3-digit score in a step 1, then I would recommend then do a step 1 first and then do a step 2 CK later. So there are two ways, because I cannot pose, I can suggest you, but I cannot pose it on you. How to reach out if you have any doubt in future? Rutvik, all my details are there on the screen. You can always reach out to us on one of the mediums. If I finish my MS General Surgery and MCH in India, and then can I do fellowships in the US and get a job there? No, even if you have done your MCH in India, you will still have to follow the same route, because it is nothing but a gate pass to the US. USMLE scores, residency, step 3 license. USMLE scores, residency, step 3 license. This is a route or a gate pass to US, no matter where and how you are coming from. Okay. So yeah. Can I? And if you're doing a fellowships in the US, you're not even allowed to stay back. Okay. So if you want to stay back in the US, you'll have to repeat your residency, and if you want to do a fellowship, then if you're lucky enough to get a fellowship, you do a fellowship and come back to India and then practice further. But since you already have a MCH, I mean, what fellowship are you looking at? That is one thing that we will have to discuss on, depending on the specialty. Can I start with Kaplan video lecture books before in the second year? Yes, you can of course start with the video lectures books, because everything comes together. Now, I would not recommend that first finish all the books from A to Z and then you switch over to the videos A to Z and then you switch over to the QBank. That would not be a good approach. Take one topic, take one subject, take one chapter, finish that chapter, go to the video lectures. Once the video lectures are done, then switch over to your question bank, and maybe once in 15 days or 1 month, keep on taking tests. So repeat this. That's the best suggestion that I can give you if you want an effective study plan. Rakshit, why is it difficult to get super specialization in US rather than a residency in US? The reason, Rakshit, why is because, let's say, for example, you and 99 of your friends from India have got into residency in US. Let's say you're 100 of you, right? And you've done, residency of 3 years, 4 years, or whatever it is, depending on the specialty. Now, it is time for you to get into fellowship. And let's say a person like me who's done his MD or MS from India, and now I'm planning to do a fellowship from US. Now, fellowship, as it is, the total number of seats available, because being a super specialty, are less in nature, and residency are high in nature. So obviously it's it's a funnel system. So first residency you have more, and then fellowship you have slightly lesser seats. Now, you 100 students have been in the system for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and I am trying to come from outside and contest for the same seats. And let's say I am lucky enough to get that seat. Don't you think it's not good on your part that I got the seat coming from outside? So you guys have spent that time in the system. So obviously you will have a first priority to be selected, which is why getting a residency is easier and getting a fellowship is slightly tougher as you compare with residency and fellowships, right? What next question? Can I start with the this is done, this is done, Rakshit is also done. Specialists, MD, MS grad, do they have to go through the same process and as an undergrad to start working as a doctor in the US? And do they have to start over the residency in the US? I am still not getting a question. Do they have to go through the same process as an undergrad? Are you talking about the US citizens? If you're talking about the US citizens, the process remains the same. They will still have to do the USMLEs, they will still have to do the residency, and it's just the same. It is just the same for a IMG and a US local who is called as a US allopathic senior. The process remains the same. The only difference is obviously they will first give a higher preference to the local candidates, and then the leftover seats are distributed to the IMGs. All right, so the process remains the same. So if that is what you're asking, I guess that's the answer for you. Ashi Chandra says, I am little fickle-minded. I look at the time and money that USMLE requires and get confused. Well, if you think that USMLE takes time and money, then I would then suggest look back at the current Indian scenario, the amount of time required, the amount of efforts required, the amount of attempts required, and of course, if nothing works in your favor, if you are supposed to take a paid seat, then the amount of money required, and then you compare that with the USMLE, you will get their answer. Samyuta, after finishing my residency in the US, how well can I come back to India because the way medicine is practiced is different in both the places? Absolutely right. Medicine is definitely practiced in different in both the places, but you are still taking a higher level of education from US, so definitely you are welcomed. And I'm sure when you come back, you're not looking at any government spaces, but you're looking at some private sectors who will pay you well, and your entire experience is great. So over there, your entire atmosphere is different, environment is different, patient level, patient safety, everything is way different than the government sectors which we usually see. So I don't see, because I've got a couple of people who come back from US. Recently, one of my alumni was working in Apollo Hospital in Bangalore, and when I just interacted with him some time back, he said, "Yeah, I'm like kind of adjusting, but after about 4 or 5 months, you just get used to it. So I don't think that's much of a problem once you come back." My inclination still remains USMLE. Great, Ashit. So you don't have to look back and get more confused. If you've thought about it, dive into it. But if you've not thought, then think faster. I'm not saying it's necessarily it has to be USMLE. It can be anything, but start with it. Do not do not just wait for things to come, because they're not going to come to you. You will have to start approaching them. Do green card holders have any benefit? Puneet, a few years back, they were having a greater acceptance advantage. As you could see in my previous slides, right now, 61.1% is the success ratio for non-US IMGs, and for US IMGs, it is 60%. So again, green card holders are considered to be US IMGs. So as of now, the trend of giving more importance to green card holders is descending and declining year by year. I don't know why, but again, you are at par with the non-US IMGs, Puneet. So yeah, I guess, is it better to do surgery or medicine branch in the US? Again, it depends on your choice. If your scores and profile is good enough to be accepted in the US, you are good to go. And I don't see any reason for you to compromise on your specialty. But if your profile, your scores itself are not surgery specific, and let's say you're struggling at a 235, 240, then I guess rather than giving up and wasting that attempt, you can always go for a medicine branch. That's the best way of looking at things, Rakshit. Look, if I'm looking at cardiology in a different country, how do I move to the US and get a job as a doctor? Do I have to revise my preclinical for step one? Yes. You will have to redo your things no matter which country you're coming from. For getting into the US, you'll have to again repeat your USMLEs, all the steps, etc. Right? What is the percentage of seats reserved for IMGs as against American residents? Well, there's no reservation, Arvind. I really wouldn't call it as a reservation. It's all about they will give priority seats to their local candidates, and rest of the seats they will give out to the international medical graduates. But there's no reservation that 10%, 20%, 30% is given to the IMGs. There's no reservation. They don't owe us anything. It is like we get the seats based on our academic background and the caliber and the potential that we have. So we earn those seats, and the earning so far is that high. The potential that the international medical graduates that they carry is so high that as of now the acceptance percentage has reached 61% against 39%, which was 10 years back. So it's all about the caliber and potential. There is no reservation. So I hope that answers your query, and there are no further questions. Thank you so much, guys, for being here for this lovely lengthy session. Thank you so much. And if you have any more questions, please reach out to us, and all the best. Thank you so much.